unexpected trouble, CashNet USA can take the stress out of borrowing emergency funds. Our fast, secure application process makes it easy to apply online 24/7. Plus, CashNet USA offers same-day funding if approved before 10:30 a.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday. Additional terms may apply. Visit CashNetUSA.com or tap the banner to apply today.
Actually start the show, and where are we here? The lovely Steph Dickey from Florida has arrived. JR, good to see you. And the lovely Tammy Jackson has arrived. There she is, everyone. Give a wave, Tammy, so everybody can wave back. And where are we? Joe Smith, good to see you. And we're caught up. We are caught up right there and then. All right. Hey, Kevin, how you doing? Welcome in. All right, Jason Guillemette is our guest tonight. There he is. Nice, solid, good Canadian beard. He's ready for the winter, and it's only summer right now. Ben Howland, welcome to the show, man. And, yeah, you know what? As much as I hate soccer, and trust me, soccer is the antichrist of all sports, okay? It really is. Hey, there's Meaty Toes. What's happening? Meaty Toes on Twitter, UAP Toronto. And, you know, but I'm going to be honest with you. I thought the American women would run over the Canadian women. They didn't. First time in 20 years. First time in 4 years that Canada scored a goal against the women. All right, we're going to get going in 10 seconds here. Hit that subscribe button if you're new. Hi, Rich Hilke. Hi, Polar Eclipse. And hi, Big J. Here we go, everyone. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. Jason Guillemette is a MUFON investigator in Canada, also the host and creator of a very popular podcast called UAP Studies Podcast. UAP Studies is created with the idea of collecting knowledge from the best UFO, UAP investigators, researchers, scientists, journalists in the world to talk and teach everyone about the proper way of handling UAP cases, along with the scientific logic and analytical approach that goes along with the subject. Sightings, abductions, cattle mutilations, CE5 contact, and learning everything in between lets you study in on the situation. And you know what? This guy is from close to my hometown, which makes this one a little bit special because I'm in Abbotsford, British Columbia, or that's where I was born and raised. He's just down the highway in Chilliwack, British Columbia, which is a beautiful place as well. And you know what? We got to do this. Us Canucks have to stick together. How you doing, my friend? Welcome to Spaced Out Radio.
I'm good. How are you?
I am good.
Thanks for having me on. I'm excited. This is big. This is I didn't think that, you know, I'm not used to having this many people on in the chat while I'm normally talking to somebody. So usually the people hear it after the fact. So this is kind of cool that it's live. You know, it's trippy.
Well, you know what, man? Anytime I get an opportunity to talk some Canadian UFOs, especially with like 80% of our listenership being in the United States, everybody is so focused on what's happening in the U.S. that the audience actually does appreciate expanding that to hear what another country is talking about regarding this all-important subject. And you're one of these guys where, damn it, man, every time I look, you're popping up on my Facebook, you're popping up on my Twitter. I'm like, really? He's got Jacques Vallée on? He's got all these guys? And I'm like, wow. You're doing a great job, by the way, and you're
thank
giving
you.
a killer interview as well.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. That's awesome. Yeah, the podcast has really blown in the last, I would say probably the last 6 months. It's really has picked up. And then the guests have also, seems like everybody got back to me all at once. So it's really been a fluke as well of just being able to get the right people at the right time on the program. But yeah, I'm having a blast being a podcaster. I never thought that this would be the avenue that I would go down, but I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the whole process.
It is a lot of fun, especially when it hits. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, because there's nothing better than the confidence and thinking, you know what, I'm just going to shoot and reach for Jacques Vallée, and all of a sudden, boom, he gets back to you, and you're like screaming around like a school kid, like who just got an autograph from their favorite athlete.
That's like asking the hottest girl in high school, you know, to go out with you, and she says yes. You know, that's just the way it is. That's how it felt. It's just, you know, you got Jacques Vallée after that. It's all gravy. But no, that one was a shocker. That's definitely the biggest guest that I've had on so far. And when he said he'd be willing to do it, I was like, cool. That means a lot. And I'm still in shock. I mean, the entire time I was talking to him, I think I was out of it. Like, I had to listen to the episode 3 times to make sure that I was, you know, coherent throughout, and you could hear my questions to Jacques and Paula when they were on. But yeah, that was definitely a cool moment for me this year. I told Jacques and Paula that you guys made my year, and he's like, the year's not over yet. You got plenty to go. So I was like, okay, but still, if I could say that I got one great interview this year out of Jacques and Paula, you know, so far, I'm having a blast doing this.
What made you get into it?
Do you know what? I've always been into UFOs and UAPs. Obviously, I had experience when I was a kid, so I always knew that I want to do something in the field of UFOs or UAPs, but I didn't know what to do. And I joined MUFON back in 2000, and I think it was late 2019, early 2020. And, you know, after you do the exam and you know, they give you your certificate and it's okay, you're ready to go. Here you go. You're kind of like, okay, now what? Right? Because what if I get a cattle mutilation, which we do sometimes in BC? There's some cases that happen. What do I do? Do I need equipment? And they do tell you, okay, you might want to pick this up or that up, but to actually talk to somebody who's been in the field like Chris Rakowski, you know, it goes a long way, because then these people can actually walk you through and say, okay, well, the first thing you need to do is, you know, approach it with your equipment, make sure that it's not radioactive. And after that, you want to put on your suit, and then you want to go inspect this and do that. So the step-by-step for me was really what I wanted to learn. And that's how the podcast initially got started. And of course, we covered different aspects of it. But initially, it was my experience that got me to pursue this into my adult life. I think, you know, there's something that draws a grown man or grown woman to decide that they're going to, you know, devote some of their adult time into investigating UFOs or UAPs or talking to people about it. You have to have some sort of profound experience or profound story that, you know, took place that cemented it for you, solidified it for you. And that's what did it for me.
What was that experience you had as a kid?
Oh, it's pretty cool. The one that I have had 2, but the one that I remember the most was the age of about 13, 14 years old, and we're living in a small town of Cadillac, Quebec. And Cadillac, Quebec is so small that if you leave town to go see the doctor, they have to change the population sign. Like, it's that small. So one night we're walking back home from a friend's house. We're not walking back home. My brother's doubling me on the bike, and I'm sitting on the handlebars of the bike while he's pedaling in the back. And we're not identical twins, by the way, but we are twins, and there's a connection between twins and sightings for some reason. But anyways, as we're riding along, I could see home. Like, home is not that far away from where we are. And all of a sudden, we get bathed in this intense red light. Like, I mean, bright. Yeah, out of nowhere. And I mean, it's 9 o'clock at night. The sun is already set. You know, that you see the stars out. Beautiful, clear night. And the minute we got hit, I just remember looking at my arms that were holding the handlebars, and they're all lit red, all the hairs on my arms, all the rocks around us. So I looked up, which I thought was a transformer on a telephone pole that had blown up. That's the only logical thing that I could think of at the time. And as I looked up, I see the telephone pole's fine, so I just keep looking up. And about 80 feet above our heads is this cigar-shaped craft, maybe the size of a school bus. And it's just above us, and it keeps flying in front of us, and then eventually over a row of houses, and then made like a 15, 20-degree turn, and then went over the trees. But the fact that I never saw it coming is that we were bathed in its light. That's how we first knew that it was there, that we were caught from behind. Had no idea that there was a craft like that right behind us. And when it flew right above us, it was fascinating because you think you would feel fear, absolute calm. Like, you couldn't hear this thing. There was no motors. It was just peaceful. And I just remember watching it with awe, like just technology beyond anything that I've seen up to that point, but complete peace with it too at the same time. Like I knew like meant no harm. Flew over us, lit us in red, but it didn't do any harm to us. So yeah, that was quite cool. That was a very close experience, and one that I'm still looking for other people to because usually when you hear somebody gets hit with a beam of light, usually they get abducted. They're sucked up.
Right.
That wasn't our case. I don't know what it was about us. I guess they didn't want us, but yeah, they just flew over us. It lit us with this light, and this light, by the way, was like perfectly cut at the. There's no edge bleed to this light, the same way that you would have with a flashlight. It had none of that. It was just perfectly cut red beam from underneath this thing as it flew silently above the row of houses. And it's like it's scanning the ground for something. And because we're in a mining town, I eventually found out that mines are gold mines for UFOs. They're always seen at these locations. So it made sense later on. But yeah, that was my initial one that I went into full-on record mode. And I keep telling people that I'd like to say that I went to school and I didn't tell anybody anything about it, and I kept my mouth shut, and that's not true at all. I told everybody, like everybody. Interestingly enough, though, there was a detail to it, which I forgot, which is a big detail, that it was my own twin brother that was with me. And for years I've been telling this story, and I was like, I was with a friend. Like I totally forgot that it was my own twin brother until I mentioned it to him. He's like, of course, it was me, you idiot. I was the one riding the bike. I'm like, how did I forget that it was you? Like, why did I think it was somebody else? I don't know. But anyways, we got our story straight. And he mentioned to me previously to that, several years previously to that, we had moved to this dilapidated farmhouse where my parents are supposed to spruce up the house and pay barely any rent as long as they made the house pretty or whatever. It was a weird deal they had going on. But behind the houses were these, just worn out barns that weren't no good anymore. And actually, you would know this section, but right by Sumas Mountain, Rosedale.
Yes, I know the area well.
Yes, that we were right beside that mountain, and there was a black. The only way to describe it is a black saucer. So it was just black shaped saucer above us. That's all we saw. It was just the black underside of this thing. And wherever we would move in the field, it would move with us. So if we ran across to the right, it would move to the right, move to the left, it would move to the left. And all of a sudden it went, and it just went right towards Abbotsford at this incredible speed. And I think we both shat ourselves and ran home because at that point it wasn't funny anymore. Like, because, we were kids. We didn't know what it was. It could have been somebody with a remote control airplane or something. Like, we didn't know. But at that speed, when it took off, my brother reminded me that we were pretty freaked out. So we ran back to the house at that point, and that was our 2 UFO experiences as a kid.
No kidding. No kidding. What is it about the lower mainland of British Columbia, which is just east of Vancouver, that makes it such a hotbed for UFOs?
I don't know. We're right by the Cascade Mountains, too, which, Washington State has tons of UFOs all the time, and we do, too, because we're right above the Washington State. And I don't know if it's the river system. I don't know if it's the way that we're positioned, but there is a lot of activity. I had a case in Hope last year that, to me, was one of the coolest cases that I've received with MUFON so far, but there was a a kid who was at the Bear Caves, I do believe, in Hope, and he's just taking pictures of these eagles from that location. And I guess the app that he uses for that only takes about a 2-second video before it takes a picture. So he had this video. And in the video, you could clearly tell, he only noticed this afterwards, that there's an object that emerges out of the Fraser River very fast. So we zoomed in on this thing. Oh, yeah. It was the size of a Ford pickup truck, F-150, F-250 maybe. It was underneath the Fraser River. It emerged, and we calculated because it was right by the railroad tracks. And so we calculated its size. And then the velocity at the speed at which it came out of the river was Mach 3.2. So we calculated by the frame rates of what this kid had recorded, and from its trajectory from underneath the Fraser River to when it's out of the frame shot, we calculated the speed was 3.2. And it never broke the surface of the water day. That's the most amazing thing, to have flown from underneath the river. So this is a big river, right?
Fraser is huge.
It's huge. But even if you have something the size of a truck emerging out of that river at that speed, you would think it would leave some sort of, make some sort of explosion when it comes out. Nothing. It's as if the water wasn't even there. So that one was a big case. And that one, that kid had a horseshoe up his butt, because to capture that on video, just on a 2-second clip that it took was amazing. But this area is super active.
Are you sure it wasn't a flying sturgeon, as Rich puts in the chat room?
Yeah, it could be. It could be. We've done a lot of stuff to the environment. It's about time some of these fish start flying.
No, exactly. And you know what? I can tell you that most of my sightings that I have had and encounters happened in Mission, British Columbia. Yeah. And which is, there's a little triangle. If you look on a map, there's a triangle of Mission in the north, across the Fraser River, Abbotsford to the south, which is right by the U.S. border, and then over to Chilliwack of the Fraser Valley, deep in the Fraser Valley. And those areas are complete with UFO sightings, from black triangles to absolutely everything in between, including a lot of extraterrestrial sightings up in the mountains and where the Sasquatch are. It's highly, there's a lot of high mountains in that area where people claim to have Sasquatch sightings. So there's a lot going on in that area. But I mean, to calculate that coming out of the Fraser River, that absolutely blows my mind for two reasons. Number one, if anybody has seen pictures of the Fraser River or knows the Fraser River, they will know that it is a very muddy river. It starts about 3/4 of the way up north. And the Fraser River is a huge river, okay? Like in miles, it's probably 1,600 miles long. And once you get to about the 2/3 point, all of this clay and embankment changes the color of the river from clear water to absolute, like this muddy color. You can't see underneath the river. It's so dirty. And so the fact that the river is so dirty, and yet it is filled with logs, and because it's not a deep river, but it's filled with logs, it's filled with all sorts of debris, it's not deep, it's got a huge, brutally fast current. That
kills people. Yeah,
it kills people, and I'm very surprised that this is even going on coming out of the river.
Yeah, well, it shocked me as well, because I didn't think anything would be this close to us. That and this was one of the first cases that I got with MUFON too, which is like, hey, this is in your backyard. I'm like, holy crap, is it ever in my backyard? But the thing is, we keep saying UFOs or UAPs, and we keep thinking, okay, they're always in the sky. Watch the skies. We have tons of programs like that, but they're in the water too, and they're in the water, and then they go into the skies. So that's the part that to me is, it's important, because we're not just looking at one direction. Now we're looking at, and you're mentioning all the sediments, all the stuff that that goes into that river. If you're going to analyze what's going on ecologically in our in our ecosystem, go underneath the water. You'll find out everything that you need to know. All the pollutants are there. You'll find out if what sediments are there. There is a thing with UAP and environmental issues. The two are linked. I don't know how, but they're very much linked.
Friends of mine actually saw a giant white orb. We were sitting on our patio, and my patio when I lived in Mission overlooked the Fraser River and Abbotsford. And we were sitting on our patio having a drink one night, and we watched this orb, this bright white orb, probably if you were to hold a golf ball up close, that's how close, the size of it, but way off. And it was following the river. And then all of a sudden it got to where, along the Fraser River, you know where the Mission Speedway is? The racetrack?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
It hit the racetrack. It hung a 90-degree turn towards Abbotsford, and then went over Matsqui Flats, took a 180-degree turn, way back over Mission, and then just went straight down, ploop, like going into Hayward Lake area.
Like it went underneath, you think?
Yeah.
Underneath the water? Yeah.
Hayward Lake and Ruskin area is very well known for UFOs coming out of the water.
So I did a night watch close to there about a year ago with some friends of mine. One of my friends showed up, and of course he's already half cut by the time he shows up to this, night watch. But we were looking for orbs in that area because that whole stretch. I think I know what you're talking about, where the lake is near Mission, right?
Yes.
And then so we parked. I think we were at least halfway through there, like in some big field out there. We parked our butts there for the night, trying to look for orbs because we heard that there was orbs going on in that region. Didn't see anything. But, man, is it ever worth it still to go out of some of these nights, especially on a clear night, and you get to see just the Milky Way and just the stars are amazing. It's well worth going out for a night watch. Even if you don't see any weird activity, it's a blast.
And the thing is, when you get into the mountains, and a lot of people don't take advantage of this, take your car into the mountains where the light pollution is dissipated a little bit and you can actually see some stars. It's amazing how much activity from satellites to shooting stars.
It's my daughter's having a sleepover with 5 of her friends, but I know just the place to go to get something for everybody and just a little something for myself too meal. There's a meal for every moment on the McDonald's $1, $2, $3 menu.
Like a 4 for $4 deal. Get a McDouble and add 4-piece chicken McNuggets, small fries, and a medium soft drink for $4. Prices and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with combo meal.
You're floating on a creamy peanut butter river in a chocolate raft. Is this paradise? This is what biting into a Think creamy peanut butter high protein bar feels like. Fuel your life, power your body. Think. Stand for strong.
Stars that you see, never mind UFOs.
Yeah. Yeah, even planes. It's just the traffic. Like, I think it's such a disservice that we've done to ourselves with our cities and the light pollution that we have, because it puts things in perspective every night when you get to look at a clear night sky and you get to see how many billions of stars there are above our own, from our own view. It's crazy. And it puts things in perspective and just lets us know that the daily bullshit and grind that we all do, and pardon my English here, but the BS that we do every day doesn't really mean anything. I think we get lost in our own humanity and own self-delusion and society delusions as well. The safety that we all feel like right now in BC, we're on fire. All of Canada's on fire. So the safety net that we normally feel is not really there, because even in your region, as we speak, it's pretty bad right now. It's set on fire. So it puts things in perspective to look at the night sky when you get a chance, especially when all this fire smoke is gone. Good God, am I looking forward to that? That's just...
Oh, trust me.
Too much.
My friend, I drove from my area 4.5, 5 hours south to Penticton, British Columbia, and I never saw the sun once. It was all thick. And when we came over the mountains and came down towards Okanagan Lake, just outside of Kelowna, you could not even see the lake. That's how thick the smoke was. And when the highway goes right along the lake, you could maybe see 100 yards out into the lake, and that was it. And it was that way all the way through Penticton, stayed at my sister's house, and came back, and the forest fire smoke was just as thick coming home. And it's terrible. Like, I think my area right now, right through the Okanagan, has the worst air quality in North America right now, if not the world. It's being rated right now. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. Like, I can even feel it in my throat after sitting in the, you go outside, like I went grocery shopping today, man. You're going back in and out of that smoke. It's like, my goodness, it just burns. It does. It sucks.
Yeah. And you smell like it too. You come home, you smell like you've been at a campfire.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
And there's no marshmallows for it. Nothing.
No marshmallows, ashes on the car. Yeah, it's pretty gross.
Can't keep your car clean, that's for sure. Jason, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Jason Guillemette is here. UAP Studies Podcast. We're going to get into a lot more UFO talk when we come back because there's a lot going on here in Canada. I want to get his opinion. Why has the Canadian government been quiet on UFOs? We'll find out different perspective on the UAP subject tonight. Let's make it happen. You, me, Jason, and all the aliens above tuning us in. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio right after this. All right, we're clear. So just as a reminder, YouTube can hear us right now.
Good. I wasn't going to say anything offensive, so
yeah,
we're good.
Yeah, I'm just welcoming everybody in here. Hi, the Ronald Penton. The Ronald Penton.
The one.
Big J, how are you, buddy? Good to see you. Hi, Nikki, looking lovely tonight. Jim Lucier, how you doing? Wave, Jim. You're in Saskatchewan. Make sure you wave because everybody will be able to see you. It's flat there. Oob to Joe's Maine, who just had a birthday, celebrating his beautiful hair for another turn around the earth. We love you, Joe. I hope you had a great one, man. And Night Gazer, good to see you. John Doe, thank you for coming on in. And $5,900, good to see you. And Sam Faz, nice to have you here. Travis DeLuca, how you doing, man? Good to see you. And yeah, we're caught up. 130. If we're at 130 now, we'll probably hit 126 on YouTube, 133 total. We'll probably hit 180 to 200 tonight, which will be cool. Sweet Donnie D, what's happening? All of a sudden I forgot how to talk there. And
English could be hard.
The lovely and talented Kilbasa Nova, how are you? Oh, by the way, I will be speaking in San Francisco in February again, so I hope to meet up with you again. Get you another poster. I should get some new posters made up this year. I probably will. Let's see here. You having fun, Jay?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's just nice to be able to socialize.
Yeah, man. Dude, out of the freezer. That just trips me out.
Yeah, that's just one small case. I mean, I'm sure this happens on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
It's just we don't catch them, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, Fraser and I wish Sumas Mountain wasn't there because then we would be able to see a lot more of the activity over in the Mission area.
Yeah.
But it blocks. But it's everywhere around that mountain. That mountain is central to a lot of the activity.
When the first black triangle I saw, we saw this orange rod with two silver orbs on an end, looked like an old school dumbbell, come right over that mountain because I could see that mountain from my house in Mission, and we watched this dumbbell come straight across the sky, and then like 25 minutes later, man, black triangle sitting over top of my house with these orange rods connected by all these silver orbs underneath the undercarriage, filling up the undercarriage. It was nuts.
Wow. And you saw that from near Sumas Mountain?
No, that was over top of
from Mission.
Yeah, that was over top of my house.
Oh.
Yeah, dude. It was crazy. It was crazy.
Soon as
Sinister Vax, good to see you. Sorry. Solar Warden, nice to have you here, my friend. And who else has come on in here? Sherry Lynn, looking lovely and talented tonight. And Eden's, nice to have you back. All right, sorry about that, Jay.
No worries. No, I was going to say just the amount of Black Triangle cases that are out here, the people have seen, it's too much. Yeah, it's too much. Yeah.
We saw one. You'll be able to understand thank you, Jazz, for the great super chat. Really do appreciate that. Thank you so much, kiddo. Aiden, good to see you. We saw one Black Triangle. If you would have laid this down on the ground, okay, and I'm just surmising here from looking at it in the sky. My friend and I saw this Black Triangle that if you would have put it on the ground probably would have covered up Abbotsford to Mission.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was massive. And we watched it, so it started like this in the triangle. It slowly started to turn this way to point away from Vancouver. And then, because, the flight line from YVR goes straight over the Lower Mainland, we saw this jet from YVR coming over, and it's lights flashing, and then all of a sudden the lights on the triangle, which are like that, this one went out, and then the top one went out. It was crazy. And it was crazy.
Yeah, it flew above downtown Chilliwack as well over midnight. Somebody had described it on MUFON as flying right down over downtown Chilliwack, and a bunch of people saw it as well.
Hold on, buddy. We're going to come back in like 10 seconds.
No worries.
That was about 2014. Hold on. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with Jason Guillemette. He is the host of UAP Studies Podcast, very popular UFO podcast. It's really starting to take off, and he's a good Canadian kid from Chilliwack, British Columbia. Height unknown, weight unknown, as we like our wrestling terminology around here. Jason, let's talk some UFOs, man. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, let's do it anytime.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Hey, I want to ask you, in regards to Canada, all right, you're Canadian, I'm Canadian. Most of our listeners are in the U.S., but do you not find it funny, or maybe a little bit irritating, I'm going to use that word, that the Canadian media will cover the subject of UFOs from an American standpoint, but will never, ever ask any politicians or anybody from Ottawa or the military about what is happening in Canada and whether or not this is happening in Canada?
Well, you bring up a good point. Even every time that they do mention anything that's related to Canada, UAPs or UFOs, it's always late. It's always after the fact. It's always like 2 weeks later after the Americans have covered the subject. It seems like they test the waters out first, make sure that it's okay, and then it's like, but it's not really breaking news. At least Canada, we have Global and CTV. They're not breaking newsworthy, stations. They're really behind the helm when it comes down to that. Jagmeet Singh?
Jagmeet Singh, yeah.
Yeah. There's people were saying, oh, he'd make a great prime minister. So I wrote on his wall when it was one of his campaigns, like, are you going to talk about the UAP issue in Canada? Like, it's not just it's an issue that actually needs to be brought up in political campaigns. It's not just healthcare. It's not just, school. But what about UAPs? Are you going to tell us anything about UAPs? Are you going to? And Canada's always been quiet on this subject. We've been working, pretty much hand in hand with the U.S. since 1947 when it comes down to this. We've had, Canada, even talking to Jacques Vallée the other day, and he was talking about stuff about, Canada working side by side with the U.S., and the U.S. wanted to share part of a crashed UFO with Canada, but mentioned to the gentleman in question that the UFO subject in the United States has a higher clearance than the Manhattan Project, a higher clearance level than the nuclear bomb. That's how important they hold this subject. And Canada's been involved with the States in regards to this since 1947. So the fact that we're still quiet about it and we let always our American brothers and sisters take the helm on this, to me, that's wrong. Now it's a time where every country needs to step up and say, you know what, we have this problem too. And we have the exact same problem as the States, except, we don't have the military that the States does. Like, do you ever go to the air shows, like the ones we have in Abbotsford?
All the
right?
time, man.
Do you ever think, whenever you look at our army and like the booths that we have there with the old Jeeps and stuff, do you ever think to yourself how screwed we are if ever we landed to like another war, like just how we don't have the equipment? I have friends in the military, and they're saying they barely could get the boots that they need on time. So we definitely don't have the technology to create these black triangles or TR3Bs. And even that, speaking with David Marlowe, he's like, nope, that's not our technology. If it was our technology, the person that would have leaked that technology would have been in major cacas. There have been major lawsuits, and only that, but breach of, technical, I don't know what the technical term of it is, but basically releasing information to the public. There would have been some major repercussions to that, and yet the person that talked about it, nothing ever happened.
Yet, if you go back in Canadian history, we have a huge history, or Canada, I shouldn't say we because I'm the host, I'm supposed to be impartial here, but Canada does have a major history of UFO events dating back to Shag Harbor and the Falcon Lake incident with Stefan Mikulik. We look at Paul Hellyer, who is still involved with the Privy Council of Canada at 96 years old, and has come out saying Canada is in contact with 2 extraterrestrial races. We have him coming out explaining that. You look going back to the 50s, where the United States government was relying on the research of Wilbur Smith, a Canadian researcher, regarding this topic. So it's not like this topic is new in Canadian circles.
No, but it's not. It's not new. It's just, but also we as Canadians have never really talked about it overtly, openly. I think now we're more of an age where we can talk about this subject openly and start asking questions. Well, is our government? Because in Canada we always assume that we're taking the polite way, or that we don't have the same attitude towards this as other nations, but we do. This is severely important topic. They fly over our skies. They're in our waters as much as they are anywhere else. So it's a global problem. It's not individualistic anymore, or at least, based on the country. This is I would like to have Justin Trudeau come out and talk about UAPs or something like that, but I don't think Trudeau's administration is the one to do so. I think maybe the next one would be, based on what follows next down south with our brothers and sisters in America. But yeah, Canada should definitely start speaking up towards this, because we are not new to this at all. People see it all the time here in Canada, and we want answers as much as anybody else. Like, this is not normal. It's not Canadian technology by any means. We do not have the funds to create weapons like this, or vehicles that could, and if we did, we would brag about it, right? Like, if we were able to just invent a craft that moves like a hockey puck, you darn right, so we would brag about it.
No, I hear you with that. And what's scary though is, and this is what I wonder, are the Americans calling the shots regarding this? Because we are so tied into NORAD, we are so tied in to the 5 countries that have the who report everything to each other. All right. We have all of this information in front of us that we are there. And I'm wondering if Big Brother down south is not saying to the Canadian government, shut up. Just keep quiet on it. We don't need people knowing what's hidden at Cold Lake, Alberta, at the big Canadian Forces base there. We don't need people hitting up your Navy or anything like that. I just don't see that happening. And when you add into the fact that there's a leadership in this country, love him or hate him, that is very much more astute with a different sort of politics than anything to do with Canadian UFOs, I think it's very difficult to be able to state that, and I agree with you, that it's very difficult to state that this government would be one that would even know where to start with this topic.
Well, it's a very, again, liberal. It's a liberal, but it's all about touchy-feely emotions, how a person feels or identifies. That's really what the party that we have in now. So the subject of talking about UAPs or visitors from somewhere else, look, whether they're extraterrestrial or interdimensional, still weird for the Canadian government to want to talk about that before anybody else. And yeah, Canada is under the leadership of the Americans when it comes down to that. We're more like a Dwight Schrute. You know what I mean? Like we're always by the Americans no matter what, silently, and sometimes they don't even to tell us to shut up. We'll just shut up because that's our relationship with them. That's how we've treated things in the past. But even when they were starting to look into UFOs flying above American and Canadian airspace, they had made some sort of agreement to say, okay, well, whenever that happens, you report it to the American flight. I forgot what the technical name of this. I'm bad with names, by the way, guys. But they were bypassing Canadian flight systems or radars. Instead of telling them that they were seeing weird things in the skies, they would dispatch to the States and tell them instead, oh, we're seeing this over Manitoba skies. So it was something that from the get-go, both countries have had vested interest in this because it's an issue that we both deal with. If there's activity in Washington States, you darn right the activity over Fraser Valley just picked up as well. It seems that we're linked in. These things don't see borders. They just see patches, and it doesn't matter where the patch lies, I guess.
Well, I'm going to blow your mind with something here, and I bet you didn't even know.
Bring it on.
All
I
right.
like learning stuff.
So a few years ago, this is going back to, I think, well, how old is my daughter? Okay, she's 18. So 4 years ago, 2017. It was around October 10th, October 15th, 2017. My daughter gets invited to a Halloween party. All right? My partner goes to pick her up at 10:45. My daughter comes out of the house, and she is hammered. Drunk as anything, almost passing out. Now, my daughter doesn't drink. Okay, so up here in the Caribou, what happens is it's one of these things, because it's such a small area, and I got to take the long road for you to understand this. It's nothing for a bunch of 19, 20, 21-year-olds to crash a teen party and have some fun and get the younger ones drunk. Okay?
Right.
We don't like it as parents. It happens. So my daughter is almost passing out, like going unconscious. Thank God we found out she got hammered on one Palm Bay.
One?
One.
Wow, that's a cheap drink. Yeah.
Yeah. So the point that I'm getting at is, as a parent, I had two choices. I could go over there with a baseball bat, or I call the RCMP. So I call the Royal Canadian Mounted Police because it's the smart, responsible thing to do. And I start talking to this officer. I'm going to leave his name out of it. And we're talking in regards to this, and he went and broke up the party. He calls, he's like, what time are you sleeping till? Because I'll phone you back with an update. Got called with an update afterwards on the charges that were laid of, allowing alcohol to minors and all this, which was fine by me. Daughter was just, she was able to come through that without us having to take her to the hospital or anything like that.
This is Gut for Popeyes, ISKI code YPDR06950000, titled Nuggets Radio EL, 30 Seconds English Radio.
After Popeyes launched its chicken sandwich...
2 words. Chicken Wars. It's the Chicken Wars.
At Popeyes, we're announcing that the Chicken War is over.
We come in peace.
Because this time, we come in peace. 8-piece. Introducing our new nuggets. Juicy, crispy, and absolutely delicious. Try an 8-piece today for $3.99 and start earning points with Popeyes Rewards. U.S. only. Price and participation may vary. Popeyes Rewards available on digital orders only and subject to terms and conditions.
This is Gut for Popeyes. ISKI code YPDR06950000, titled Nuggets Radio EL, 30 Seconds English Radio.
After Popeyes launched its chicken sandwich...
2 words. Chicken Wars. It's the Chicken Wars.
At Popeyes, we're announcing that the Chicken War is over.
We come in peace.
Because this time, we come in peace. 8-piece. Introducing our new nuggets. Juicy, crispy, and absolutely delicious. Try an 8-piece today for $3.99 and start earning points with Popeyes Rewards. U.S. only. Price and participation may vary. Popeyes Rewards available on digital orders only and subject to terms and conditions.
Which it was scary. I'd never seen that before. Long story short, I don't know why I had the gall to ask this guy. Okay, but I said, hey, can I ask you a question way off topic? And he didn't know I do this radio show. He goes, sure. I said, what's the RCMP protocol of UFOs? And blew my mind, dude. He says, no laughing, nothing. Straight-laced. He answers me, and he goes, in the air or on the ground? And I said, what? He goes... And he starts laughing. He goes, boy, are you asking the right guy, because I spent some time in the Canadian Armed Forces working in navigation. I said, well, let's start with in the air. He goes, okay, if it's in the air, he goes, and it's not leaving, and it's just kind of hovering, he goes, the file goes immediately, when the call comes in, the file immediately goes to the staff sergeant on duty, who immediately has to report it to headquarters in Ottawa. And they immediately contact NORAD, who dispatches the 2 closest CF-18 Hornets to try and intercept it. And I went, okay. I said, well, what if it's on the ground? He goes, that I'm not sure. He goes, but I think if it's on the ground and there are occupants out of this craft, if there's no military base around, they would call us in to cordon off the area before they would get the military, or before the military could arrive, and wait for the military to take over. I said, so what you're telling me is this. I said, for every Canadian report that goes to the RCMP, so when you file a report with the police, much like any other police force, you have to give your name, your phone number, your date of birth, your address, how long it takes hot water to come out of the kitchen sink. You got to give them all that information.
Yeah.
But here's what I found out. That personal information goes to NORAD. Because it's all attached to the report.
And that's interesting that their first response would be to wait for the military or to dispatch the military. That's always their response.
Yes.
That's our response to anything. Oh, military, bring in the guns.
But here's the thing, dude. How many Canadians who have seen UFOs have their personal information sitting in NORAD?
Good point.
That's what's scary. That's what's scary because, and I'll tell you why I went on that point, because I've had a lot of Canadian guests, experiencers, who've had some real what I call American experiences. FBI, CIA coming to their door, My Labs, MK Ultra. We think of these as American-type programs. And I couldn't understand why Canadian people were experiencing this. And then RCMP are giving that data to NORAD, who runs NORAD.
Which is weird that they don't take care of this. You think the RCMP is almost like the FBI of Canada. You think they would have some sort of, or CSIS, or at least give it to CSIS or something like a company like that, but yeah, it's strange that their reports goes like basically they don't deal with it. It's it's outsourced. If anything happens, it's outsourced. We just show up, block things off. Other people come in and take care of the helm. But even here in Chilliwack, I dropped off business cards. I had some MUFON cards made, and I dropped them off at the local RCMP detachment here. And when I gave it to the girl that was up front behind the big,
Yes.
glass and stuff like that, and I'm trying to slip the cards underneath that little dip that they have underneath the window, and I could see when she first read the card, and then she started smiling, and she's like trying to hide, as if she's trying to hide a full-blown smile underneath her hand. And I thought, that is so weird that the stigma still surrounded this issue. It's still here in the RCMP when they're the ones 80% of all the big cases involve the police officers at some point, or a police officer is the one who calls it in. So it's just weird that that they still have that attitude in the department, that's still how they feel about it, or that they're not educated on it. That's not something that you think the police officers would get in their training, how to handle UFOs. But there's a history of RCMP investigating UFOs in this country. So you think they, at this point, would be the go-to. It's weird that they're still sending all that information to somebody else.
Yeah, but I mean, you think about it, when NORAD controls the air in North America, they have to be able to see where it comes from and what's happening.
I think it was Transport Canada. The story I was talking about in the 1940s, it was Transport Canada was who they were supposed to talk to if they encountered anything strange over Canadian skies. But the Americans said, no, just bypass that and talk to, and it was the American equivalent of that at the time in 1947. And interestingly enough, 1947, I kept thinking that, that's the year where, you have Roswell in July, and then by Christmas, you have all these 3-lettered defense departments that have been, sprung up, FBI, CIA, all within the same year. Which is really weird. It's like, was it just coincidence, or was there something, a buildup at that point? And if you guys get a chance to read the Trinity, the newest book by Jacques Vallée, you realize that the government had their hands on one of these crafts before 1947. They had their hands on this craft, or a craft similar, in 1945. Similar crash that happened only miles away from Roswell 2 years previously. So the crashes, when you hear about Roswell, and then you hear about this Trinity crash, and you hear about, was it Oppenheimer, that said to become a destroyer of worlds, maybe discovering that these nuclear bombs that were setting off is also affecting other life forms. And we just discovered that because they seem to crash around the areas where we're detonating these bombs. And it's true that everybody that you talk to, you start looking into this, there's something that has to do with the nuclear technology that we have, and then the emergence or the social awareness of the situation that came about. And that's all because of, what we did with the nuclear weapons. That's really when UFOs became a thing that we were now all paying attention to. And still today, we still pay attention to them, because of the nuclear factor. I think that is a huge thing, and it does affect them as much as it affects us by the looks of it. So I forgot where I was going with this, my friend. I got lost in my own thoughts there.
That's all right. It happens.
It happens.
It happens. We've
go down the rabbit hole. Yeah.
We've got 3 minutes before we have to go to break here at the top of the hour. Jason Guillemette is our guest tonight. He's the host of UAP Studies Podcast. The big thing for me with Canada is the silence out of the government. I know the Conservative Party has interest in this subject. I've talked to people within that circle in Ottawa about that personally. I can't say what those conversations are, but we've had those talks.
What was the feel? Like, what did you get from them?
They are waiting for something to tie Canada into the U.S.
So they're waiting for an invitation.
No, they're waiting. It's tough for me to say right now because I kind of gave my word.
Okay, gotcha.
But I can tell you this: the Conservative Party of Canada who is in the official opposition, has a very vested interest in this subject. They want to know what's going on and why they aren't talking about it, why they didn't bring it up. I told the guy, one of my sources the other day, I said, you guys as a party dropped the ball when the DNI report came out in the United States. I said it went to Parliament in the United Kingdom. Why didn't it go to Parliament here during question period? Couldn't answer that question because somebody didn't bring it up. And it's as simple as that. Why they aren't bringing it up when they are familiar with it, this is what I don't have an idea. So do you think it is, with 90 seconds to go, that Canada has a very, very big problem where if we don't talk about it, it doesn't exist, especially when it comes to politics?
Yeah. I often said that it's the same thing as like domestic abuse. If you don't talk about it, it doesn't appear. And if, not witnesses, but I would say people across the street know that it's taken place, but as long as nobody talks about it, it's not an issue. And I think that's the same thing with this phenomenon, is that if you don't address it, right now they're worried about, COVID-19, and obviously our country's on fire. So there's more pressing issues. But I think, the UAP, they could only dance around this subject long enough before we start, people like yourselves and people that are in journalists, asking them the tough questions like, hey, you guys have been silent on this. States have been talking about it for the past, let's say 2 years. Where's Canada's stance on this? I would like to know personally if Canada has a role to play in any of this. I'm sure we do, but is it as in depth as I'd like to think that it is? Like, I
think it is.
You think?
I think it is. And I will tell you this, from what I know, I do believe that there is a secret group in Ottawa that deals with this situation and how much it gets out and how much it doesn't. And if my source is correct, that's what's happening.
So are they? You think they're just waiting? They're just biding their time for something more concrete to come out of the States before they speak up?
That's exactly what I think. They're too stupid and too yellow-bellied to do it on their own.
Yeah,
but I could be wrong, so CSIS, don't report me on that. All right, I know we're broadcast in Ontario, so I mean, don't be hitting me on that, CSIS. That's not fair. But if CSIS, you want a phone call, hey, I'm willing to have that call. Jason, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the top of the hour. We got a very busy show. 1 hour down already with UAP Studies podcast host Jason Guillemette. We're going to talk more UFOs when we come back on Spaced Out Radio, so stick around right after this. My friend, I'm just going to run my dogs outside. I'll put you on mute, and I'll be right back. We got like 5.5 minutes, okay?
I'll go to the loo, so we're good.
All right, man. Be right back, people. All right, buddy, I'm back. All right, put you there. I need you to unmute your mic. There you are.
Unmuted.
There we go. Perfect.
Yeah, no, I was just reading through the Canadian, if you will, disclosure papers that we have available, but I was trying to find the section I was talking about earlier, but I can't find it. This thing's too big. I highlighted it too, I'm sure.
It's quite okay.
It's quite okay. It's quite a lot of bit to read through anyways.
It is ridiculous how quiet the government is on it. And that the media, I don't know, I can't tell you, man, how many interviews I have done across Canada, and not once has any of the hosts asked me if Canada has a role in this.
If I had any role to play in it, yeah. Which I'm sure we do.
Oh, for sure we do. For sure.
But we're good, unlike, we're pretty good at hiding things. Even CSIS. You never hear about CSIS. You never hear CSIS fucked up another job,
Oh, yeah.
You never hear that. CSIS seems to be pretty good at what they're doing. So I think Canadian intelligence and secrecy's a little bit better on that front. Less rumors coming around from the Canadian front.
Oh, for sure. For sure. All right, my friend, we got 20 seconds. A big thank you to both Jazz and Michael for the awesome super chats kicking it off this week. It's a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, so that way you know we are live at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, 7 days a week. Here we go.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Kicking off hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. We have, what is this? Paul Miped. Paul Miped is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with Jason Guillemette. He is the host of UAP Studies Podcast, very popular podcast that's going on right now, talking all things UFO. And Jason, thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate it.
Hey, I'm having a blast. So again, thank you for having me on.
We talked about Canada's role in ufology the last half hour. And one of the things that I have talked with Lou Elizondo and others close to him is about that this stuff is happening north of the border. It goes well beyond Falcon Lake or Shag Harbor. Are we hearing about these cases, whether it's through MUFON, whether it's through other sources of information, regarding NAV Canada or the Transportation Safety Board?
Are we hearing from them?
Yeah.
You know what? For me, I think the survey that Chris, was it? It's not Rutkowski?
Chris Rutkowski.
Yeah, he's the Canadian ufologist in Winnipeg. I believe so. I get my Rutkowski's. Yes, I had another Rutkowski on. That's why I'm getting the two confused. Man, I'm bad with names. I really got to get on that. Considering I'm a podcast host, you think I'd get my names right. But yes, the Canadian UFO surveys. I was talking to Victor Vigiani the other day, and he's a guy that to me, like, I look up to, because he knows his the political system, anyways, of Canada. He's trying to get the political system going as well. Now, whether or not we can get, and I lost track of your initial question here, but whether or not we can get the political system going in on this, which is really important. And CTV, we're talking about global and all that, getting on board with the stations as well, or at least talking about the subject. And the biggest push right now, I think, in this country politically would have to be the UAP subject after the COVID issue. Obviously, we got to get rid of the COVID issue first before we can talk about UAP, at least more honestly. But even having a person like yourself
It's the my daughter's having a sleepover with 5 of her friends, but I know just the place to go to get something for everybody and just a little something for myself too meal. There's a meal for every moment on the McDonald's $1, $2, $3 menu.
Like the 4 for $4 deal. Get a McDouble and add 4-piece chicken McNuggets, small fries, and a medium soft drink for $4. Prices and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with combo meal.
You're floating on a creamy peanut butter river in a chocolate raft. Is this paradise? This is what biting into a Think creamy peanut butter high protein bar feels like. Fuel your life, power your body. Think. Stand for strong.
Asking the political questions of, hey, what about this? Are you guys taking this seriously? Because we haven't heard that from Canada yet. You're gonna have to rephrase your question for me, my man Dave, because I totally forgot.
That's okay. We could go down this angle. There is a lot of good Canadian ufologists out there. You mentioned Victor Vigiani. There's Grant Cameron. There's a number of good, strong people out there. Chris Rakowski, another one, who are out there trying to bring some light to this subject, more than just a UFO report that happens annually, and yet. Here we are discussing a topic straight out of, sci-fi that could affect everybody in Canada and never mind the world. And our government officials are mum on it. They're silent on it.
But that's, we're not surprised because the thing is something like this, it's like, how do you address it? And I keep thinking about, I like, Trudeau can talk his way around anything, but I'd like to hear him talk his way around this because his dad was prime minister as well. For people that don't know, Trudeau's father was a prime minister of Canada as well back in his 70s, early 80s. And, this has got to be something that was around back then as well. I would like, to have more faith in the Canadian system when it comes down to disclosure. I think I'm most likely banking on the American political system right now for any good UFO news or UAP related news. I think Canada is going to be still playing it way too close. Like they're not going to cover it on the media anytime soon. You're not going to get CTV wanting to do an exclusive, brand new special on this. It's always going to be small morsels. And even what I've seen, they've changed the tone with some of the people now. I don't know if you've noticed that, but whenever they interview people, it's not as lighthearted subject as it used to be. They're taking it with a lot more severity, seriousness too when it comes down to the topic. Because it used to be, talk UFOs. Oh, we have, Dave Scott today, and they'd bring in this UFO sound effect. And do you believe in aliens? Like start making fun of the subject before you could even start talking about it. And, I was mentioning that too. It's not just the what people see in the sky in the water, but it's also the effect. The abduction phenomenon is something that I would like to specialize in. I think, if anything, it would be working with abductees or cases thereof. That's something that's always been close to my heart, something I want to work with. So when we're talking about UFOs, it's not just what we see in the skies, but it's the cattle mutilation, the abduction cases. So if they're going to validate that, yes, we have things flying over our skies, and yes, we don't know what they are, if one thing is real, the others, it gives credibility to everything else. It does give credibility now to people that saying, hey, some weird stuff happens to me every once in a while. I get plucked out of reality. Or, we got lots of cows and farm animals in the Fraser Valley, and how many farmers and stuff like that are having cattle being mutilated, but they never report it because that's just not something that you report, or there's nothing that could be done about it. So, Yeah, give credibility to one thing. Saying one thing exists gives credibility to the other stuff as well. And I think that's really why a lot of people are on the fence about, full-blown disclosure. Is just that, you open up one gate, it's going to open up another. The subject in of itself, I think, is deep. And that's what they're afraid of revealing, is that, if you start saying, yes, UFOs are real, okay, well, what are the implications now? What does that mean? And Canada is certainly not the country to take the helm on that. I think we're far too polite and would rather let our neighbors to the south take the helm on this, I think. But I'm interested in what you said, the fact that you talked to people in the Conservative Party and that they're on board. I'm almost going to swing over to the Conservative side if that's the case. I'm voting Conservative next year, baby. Yeah.
Oh, well. Hey, I got some audience members here who want to hear some black triangle stories. You mentioned there seems to be a lot of sightings around British Columbia and Canada with these black triangles. What do you think they are?
I don't think it's us. Personally, I don't think it's us. We don't have that technology. And the fact is that it's flying over Canadian airspace. Look, like I mentioned before, Canada's, we're broke when it comes down to military stuff. We don't invest that kind of money. And if you see, our army and, it's hard for us to get anything that doesn't come in that nice green military pattern. I think everything that we have is World War II hand-me-downs. I think we still have a warship right now that was just renovated from the Second World War. It's pretty bad. We don't have good technology. I don't think this is us. I don't think it's, and when I say us, I don't think it's human. I really don't. If it was us, we would know that by now. If it was China, we would know that by now. The fact that we can't get anywhere close to these things and we still are talking about it like we are right now, we still don't know what they are. It's safe to say that it's just not human. At least I'd like to state that, because there's no proof to say that it is.
At this time, no, but there's a lot of people out there who believe these black triangles, nicknamed the TR-3B, are something that is out of the U.S. government and maybe some sort of fancy hidden technologically aircraft.
But let's say if it was true, Dave, if it was true, how many laws are they breaking? International laws are they breaking by flying over other countries without their consent, doing whatever experiment or whatever they're doing over these countries? And this is global. This is not just, in North America. You got, Belgium went through a wave of this, and Europe went through a wave of this. So it would be a country that would be flying over airspace with, impunity. You can't do anything about it. I just don't think the states could stretch themselves that far with that technology. They would keep it local, I think. Yeah, that's my thought on that anyways.
Well, how often are black triangles being spotted in your area?
I would say there's at least good 2 solid cases a year that we must be getting, or even looking at UFO BC and seeing the people that are reporting what they're reporting there. I did a test a while back where I just said, hey, have you seen this? And I sort of posted a couple of pictures of black triangles. And I said, if you live within, the White Rock, Langley, Abbotsford region, and you've seen this, and the amount of people that were sharing that and tagging their friends, hey, Tamara, isn't that what we saw? And I just was watching the thread, just the amount of people that have seen these things around the Fraser Valley is insane. And it's hard. I'd like to say it's once or twice a month, but man, some people that work in mines, they see up to 5 of them a night.
Really?
So,
in mines?
Yeah. In mines are extremely important for UFO watching. If you're going to be a spacefaring creature, or just to say species, you're going to look for minerals on whatever planet you're at, where you're not going to go fly back home to get certain minerals. So these big industrial mining places that we have is a huge attraction to these black triangles as well. I had one gentleman who worked at one of these mines, and he thought the truckers were making fun of him. They were telling him, oh, wait till you see them at night. And even orbs will sometimes just follow the trucks at night while they're driving. So this is something that even within the mining community, they're aware of.
That is insane. Absolutely insane. All right. let's get to a question from Solar Warden here. On border UFO relations, do we think it's possible the United States is actually dictating when Canada speaks on the matter?
I personally, I'm going to say, yeah, I think so. I think the states have a major role to play in this and telling us when to step up, or even just the government, like we were mentioning, the government that we have now is the wrong government to be using to disclose this information. So I think, yeah, the states might be, I think Canada's just going to watch the show for the time being. And when the state says, hey, it's time for you to step up, maybe then Canada will add its 2 cents. But Canada will never be the country, like, it's, I'm not saying we're cowardly, but we never take the helm on anything like that. We don't want to be seen as anything else but the polite Canadian to the north. We're not going to start waving the flag of UFOs, because what's that going to do to the community image that we have, right? But I think we're getting to that point where every country is going to start saying we need to start talking about it openly. If not, even the UN, like, why not form a UN group in relation to this,
I hear you there. Nicola is asking, Jason, do you think Canada has back engineered a downed UFO?
I think Canada's helped engineer some aspects of downed UFOs for sure. Like even talking with experts on the podcast, and even like Jacques Vallée mentioned, that Canadians have been working with Americans on this since the start. If the Americans have recovered, crashed crafts, you are damn straight Canadians have been in there. Canadian scientists, even something crashes on our side, we would probably call the United States to handle this, since they have more of a robust budget for this sort of stuff. So I think Canada helped for sure. If anything, we'll find out in the future that Canadians did play a role in something.
I think that if something does happen, and I'll add to this, I think that any craft that the Canadian government gets immediately gets picked up and taken to the U.S. That's what I believe happens. If it's small enough to get inside a transport plane, I believe that's what happens. If not, they get it up to Cold Lake, Alberta, which is it would be the size, for our American friends, it would be the size of Nellis Air Force Range, in Nevada. And I think that's where they do a lot of the testing on them. That being said, I think the Americans have the upper hand on that because they have the experience and the technology and the money to do so. And I think it's one of those little hidden treaty things that if there is a UFO crash in Canada, that the Americans get the craft. I would believe that would be the case.
Even flying a craft, like if you're, in Canada, is a perfect area. I mean, we got so much space, whereas the United States, I mean, you got 300 million people spread. It's harder for them to do test flights and stuff like that within their own country. But in Canada, you go up north to do your test flights. You got miles, kilometers and kilometers. I should say kilometers are Canadian, not American. Kilometers and kilometers of just nothing that you could just get away with, testing new military gear if you wanted to. So yeah, I think Canada has definitely been working closely with the States on this. Whether or not we have the same amount of knowledge as our neighbors to the south on the subject, that remains to be seen. But yeah, definitely Canada's been helping. We know that since the start.
All right, let's move on to another question. This one from the Lazarus Project. Would the TR-3B or Tic Tacs be more advanced? Or, pardon me, would TR-3Bs or Tic Tacs be more advanced? Which one do you think is more advanced?
Tic Tac, I think. Just because, like, the TR-3B, can it go underwater? Some people say yes, it can. I don't know. But the Tic Tac, as far as I know, just the way that it was maneuvering, and you think it's a lot more, I wouldn't say stealthy, but just the way that it was maneuvering, the way that it was, even talking with Kevin Day, saying that they would spot this thing, in space, and then all of a sudden it would be over 10 feet above the water within a split of a second. That technology is amazing. And I know that some people have said that these black triangles take off at a fast speed. What I've heard is just basically either the lights go out and then you stop seeing the craft, but nobody's ever seen it fly away at such a a fast velocity like the Tic Tac does. So I would say the Tic Tac, for me personally, I would think that it would be the Tic Tac to be more advanced.
Well, I think they have a perfect cover-up with the black triangles, with everybody thinking that it's American technology.
Good point. Yeah. Nothing to fear if you think it's just a foreign adversary or just a foreign country flying their stuff over your cities, right? But yeah, that's a comfort blanket, because nobody's ever come out and said, "Oh yeah, it's us. Don't worry about it," and go back to sleep. So that's the part that worries me about this whole TR-3B thing. Is nothing's been proven, and nobody's come out to officially say yes, it's us. It would make me feel better if I knew it was like, oh, they're just testing out their new equipment. But that's not the case.
Jason Guillemette is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We have about just under 4.5 minutes here before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Mennonite Abe is asking, do you think UFOs are nuts and bolts or woo dimensional type things?
I'm going to throw that to you first. What do you think what would you think there, Dave? Yeah.
I don't believe they're nuts and bolts. I think we are dealing with something that's so advanced that we can't even fathom what we're dealing with. And you know, I hate it when people do this, but I'm going to do it anyways, okay? When people throw in movies or anything like that. But for me, I didn't realize this until a few years ago. Do you remember the Disney movie Flight of the Navigator?
Yes. Love that movie.
Okay. There is that movie for me, when it comes to ufology and what I know now, is one of the most realistic movies to the experiences we are hearing from people. The way that they sit in a seat, and the seat it's like it's made for them. The way consciousness controls the craft. You know, the metal where it's all sleek, there's no entry point, yet all of a sudden, boom, there's a door that opens, that you could see through the metal where you're going and what you're seeing, like it's luminescent or whatever the proper terminology is for that. And when I look at that movie, I just think that movie is so ahead of the times, going back to 1986. Never mind the annoying kid in there or whatever, but I mean, it sticks with me, that movie. And when I get questions like this, I really do believe that we are dealing with something. I mean, how many stories have we heard from people who say, look, I got taken into I saw this really small craft, and then next thing I know, I'm taken by these two gray dudes. I go inside the craft, and it's massive. They could go anywhere. It's like they're walking for hundreds of miles. I know I'm exaggerating there, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And this is where I don't get it. And I'm not sure how to get it.
It's, it could be a dimensional thing too. Let's say we talk about, they're talking about now like VR, virtual reality, where right now I'm looking at my computer, I'm looking at the internet, but what if I could go into the internet, have a 3D body there, I could feel, touch, taste. It's a different dimension that we've created, that we're now able to go into. It's probably the same thing with these objects, because it seems like the size of this object, like I mentioned, what I saw when I was a kid was about the size of a school bus.
Yeah.
But it could be bigger on the inside. I don't know. I wasn't in there. But, talking to some experiencers, and they were mentioning, I was inside the craft. The craft was a lot bigger on the inside than it was on the outside. It's sort of like the movie Harry Potter, when they set up that tent, and it's just a small tent. You're thinking there's no way everybody can stay in there, but when you walk inside the tent, it's like a palace.
Right.
It's almost like that same effect, but it's within the craft. Terry Lovelace, which I was speaking to, and he had an abduction, and he saw a large craft above his tent. It was large, but he says when he was inside the craft, it was even larger. It was like being at BC Place in front of like thousands of these little gray dudes. And he says that's all he remembers, is a great amphitheater aboard this craft. But yet the craft didn't look like it could hold that kind of, seating or anything like that. So who knows? I think the dimension, and you mentioned a good point. Like people describe, like they go inside, and it's like the chair is designed for them. these crafts are designed to come here and do medical exams on us. When people say, like even Betty and Barney Hill, they were separated and they each went to their own rooms, which had their own tables and own instrumentation. These crafts are designed to come here and to do these things on us. That's what they're built like that. So that's another thing too, which I think is really cool about the inside of the ship. There's always an examination room, which means that they design these crafts specifically for whatever medical purposes they're going to be doing.
You're exactly right on that. And on that note, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because this show is flying on by. We're already 90 minutes in to Spaced Out Radio tonight, and Jason Guillemette is our guest. He is from the podcast UAP Studies, and it is a fantastic podcast. You can find it anywhere online, so you want to check it on out. We'll continue the UFO talk and your questions when we come back on Spaced Out Radio. All right, we're clear. Merle! Got to get you on a ghost investigation with my buddy Merle here from the Paranormal Road Trippers.
I would love to do a ghost investigation. I'm still on the fence about the ghost things or Bigfoot. I know sometimes a lot of people that are into UFOs have they believe or not believe, but investigate everything. But I would love to do a ghost investigation. I think that would be fun. Just to see how the other guys react, really, and to see how how does an investigation take place.
I would agree. Yeah, he's pretty good. He's the same way about UFOs with you, with you and me. But it's kind of funny. But the big thing is, like with him, we actually did an investigation up here back in 2018. That actually we got scared out of the forest, chased out of the forest by two Sasquatch.
Oh, no way.
Oh, dude, it was like the one Sasquatch was probably 15, 20 feet behind Mike in the bushes making noises at him. And at the exact same time that he's freaking out, our buddy Mark is about 100 feet away from us and right in front of him, and the trail is in between us to get out. There's only one way in and one way out. And Mark is literally raising his rifle into the bushes because something bipedal is coming at him.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was phenomenal.
He had a rifle. Did you have anything with you?
No.
Bear spray or anything?
Nothing, man. That's what we got Mark for. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Chuck Zukowski?
Yeah.
The American investigator there. He said
It's my daughter's having a sleepover with 5 of her friends, but I know just the place to go to get something for everybody and just a little something for myself too meal. There's a meal for every moment on the McDonald's $1, $2, $3 menu.
Like the 4 for $4 deal. Get a McDouble and add 4-piece chicken McNuggets, small fries, and a medium soft drink for $4. Prices and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with combo meal.
Reuniting with loved ones is more important than ever this summer. And the beach isn't just calling your name, it's calling the whole family. Verbo has thousands of private beach homes wherever the ocean meets the land, so you can find the perfect vacation home on the perfect stretch of beach with something for everyone. The time for getting back together is now. Download the Verbo app and make your reunion happen with Verbo.
Same thing. Like he went somewhere where there's Sasquatch, and when they heard it take down like an elk or something like that, he turned around to his friends and he says, "We need to leave now. Like I got a 45 on me, and I don't think that's going to bring down whatever. Like if a 45 isn't going to work for you to bring down whatever was whatever you heard, yeah, it's time to get the hell out of Dodge."
Totally true. Totally true. 1 second here. I'm just trying to call my UFO guy. Hold on.
No worries.
All right, buddy. Thank you. Sorry. My UFO guy. I do you know John Hudson? He's at Desmodin on Twitter.
No, I'm not familiar with him.
Oh, he a few weeks ago we started a new UFO thing on our show. So first 15 minutes of our final half hour, he comes in on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays and does a UFO report.
Nice.
Yeah, because I noticed that we were dropping a lot of good UFO stories, that were just happening, and we could. Poor Gail, my news lady, could only fit so much, in there. But the real juice, the TMZ type stuff, I wanted, right? To keep our public kind of in line with everything, and I could tell you that it's been phenomenal addition to what we are doing. Between John doing that and Lynn Wallington on the weekends, and Gary running our YouTube channel now,
things running smoothly.
Been amazing.
Well, that's good to hear. It's really good to hear that at least I wouldn't say the progress, but the formula is working, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And you're always moving the formula to test what works and what doesn't, right? So it's kind of the way it is. Sir Wolf, where have you been hiding? Nice to see you around, buddy. Nice to see you around. Thank you, Meaty Toes, a.k.a. UAP Toronto. For some reason, every time he was logging into our chat room, it was coming up as Meaty Toes. We couldn't figure it out. So today he had to tell his beautiful other half about what Meaty Toes meant, because I trolled him on Twitter today, which was nice. Let's see here. What else we got? We got about 30 seconds. Big thank you to Jazz and Michael for the awesome super chats. It's a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis, and we appreciate everything that you guys do and tuning us on in. We're having a lot of fun tonight. I hope you are too. Sometimes it's just nice to talk UFOs at home. And it's like a good homegrown conversation tonight with our guest Jason here. So let's bring him back here in 2 seconds. Here we go. Second half of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Thank you so much for everybody tuning us in tonight, and we absolutely love you as well. And I want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with our good friend Jason Guillemette. He is from UAP Studies Podcast, which you can check out on any major platform. This guy has a show that is really, really starting to take off, and for good reason. He's working hard at it. He's saying his prayers, eating his vitamins, and moving on from there. Jason, welcome back.
Have you been spying on me? How do you know I'm taking my vitamins? Okay, good.
Dude, I know the air in Chilliwack around this time of season, so
yeah,
too well.
You need the vitamins and you need the nose clips at the same time. Where I live, a lot of farms, a lot of manure being spread around, so we're known for that, right?
Hey, I have a question before we continue on. Are you one of the combat fishermen in the Vedder River?
No, I can't fish to save my life at all. So no, I'm not a fisherman at all.
Oh,
my brother is. Yeah,
that is the one thing I miss about living in the Lower Mainland is going out 6-7 days a week, combat fishing along the Vedder River. And people wondering what combat fishing is, that's where you literally you get there at about 4 o'clock in the morning, you save your spot, and then you have to fight everybody to keep your spot because you're in the hot spot and everybody and their dog is trying to butt in on your fishing spot. And the combat is on. It's a beautiful thing sometimes. I remember walking up to this one guy, he charged me in my face, and I said to him, you have to think to yourself, sir, one thing, do you really want to do this? Because I do.
How bad do you want these fish? Because I want it bad.
The best part about it is I got the ultimate revenge where I landed a beautiful 15-pound coho, and I put it back right in front of him.
Really?
I put it back in the river, right? Because I'm a catch and release. I don't eat fish. I just go for the sport.
Gotcha.
And I put it back right in front of him. And I swear he was about to explode out of his head because that's the fish he wanted from my spot. It was a beautiful day. A beautiful day.
You just rubbed it in. You
got that right, I did. Damn rights I did.
No, fishing is something I would love to be able to do because I see the guys do it all the time at the Vedder River. And I'm like, oh, man, it looks so peaceful. It looks like they're all comfortable. But every once in a while, you get past one of those clusters where you see like 10 of them, 5 across from another 5, and you have all their lines almost tangled. It's like that can't be fun to fish.
But once you get the pattern down, of watching everybody, then you're free, man. It's the idiots who are across from you that tie you up.
Yeah, see, I'd be the idiot. That'd be across from me. That's how I fish. I have no idea what I'm doing, so I would just butcher everybody's fishing trip anyway. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't like you already.
It's not my forte. I'll come hang out, drink beers, but the fishing part, don't rely on me for dinner because that's probably not going to happen. I can't catch. No.
That's all right. Well, you are catching UFO stuff though. That is where we really want to talk to you tonight about. That is UFOs and the investigations that you are seeing and working on right now, whether it's for your own personal vested interest or with MUFON. How many of these cases are involving anything to do with extraterrestrials?
I would say there's only like 5% at most that I'm dealing with people that have had abduction cases. Most of them involve just sightings, like this weather balloon that you texted me not too long ago. I believe about this weather balloon here in Chilliwack. Everybody was seeing it, and I got a few cases from MUFON from people that had filmed this weather balloon wanting to know what it was. So that's what I've been seeing as of late. But when it comes down to extraterrestrials, no, I would say that the abductions right now, cases or anything involving that is maybe 5%, just like 2-3 people that I'm working with right now that have that aspect to the investigation. Plus, there's not, usually when somebody says they've been abducted, there's no, it's not like I could go to the house and prove that it happened or anything like that. So there's a lot of talking with people, getting to know them first. But yeah, extraterrestrial, I would like to get more cases. I've definitely talked to people that have had abduction cases or, really weird situations. So that's definitely where I think career later on will lead is more in that abduction phenomenon area. I like investigating, lights in the skies as much as everybody else, but for me, it's more like the abductees. That's where my passion is. It's like, if you want to know why they're here, what they're doing with us, look at the abductees. The abductees are, the ones being plucked out and being put back all the time. What is it about them that's so special? What is it that they're doing? And when you hear about, even this hybrid system, which, or hybridization, you got people that, never wanted kids, but they were pregnant every other 3 months. Or this one, like as you see in documentaries as well, this one lady who is, fully into chicks. She's a lesbian, but she's pregnant every 3 months and can't explain that. Or pregnant once or twice a year. So this phenomenon affects everybody. It doesn't matter of your creed, your race, your religion, your location on this planet. Everybody seems to be going through the same processes. And that's really where my interest is, because it's like, well, what is it about these people specifically? Is it, something in their DNA? Is it something to do with who they are, how their mind works? That's the part to me that I'm fascinated by. And so far, I can't find any common denominator that would say that these people all have this in common.
Why do you think that it is so difficult for your cases to get those who are being taken? Is it a matter of people just not reporting it enough?
Yeah, the not reporting it enough, or culturally too, because some cultures, especially like out here, which I talked to a hypnotherapist that deals with abduction phenomenon in Vancouver. And I asked her, I said, well, predominantly, what are you seeing in your office? Is it males or females? So she's seeing more males than she is seeing females. And I asked her, when you're seeing the males, what are you seeing? Like, predominantly, they're white. So white males will come out and, say, hey, I've been abducted or something happened to me. But we have also a very large Punjabi culture, right? East Indian population in Fraser Valley. It's happening to them as much as it's happening to a Caucasian person, but yet they're silent on it. I used to work with people in the Punjabi culture, and they're very family orientated, but there's also like certain things you don't talk about, right? And UFOs is just something culturally that they don't talk about. But this phenomenon is worldwide, and it's I'm sure it's happening to them as much as it's happening to Joe Blow that lives in Richmond. So that's the part that I'm interested in is, what is it about a culture or maybe the home environment? Is it religion? If you come from because Christian people get abducted as well, but they try to put a spin on it that it's, more of a spiritual warfare as opposed to an alien abduction. I covered that as well on the podcast because I want to look at all the angles until we know what this phenomenon is. We can't rule anything out. We had people attack a gentleman on who is, he's a Christian, born again Christian, and his take on the abduction phenomenon is that it is a spiritual warfare, that, you can stop these abductions if you believe enough. And I'm not laughing at it. It's just that, if you believe enough, the abductions will stop. It hasn't stopped yet for people, even if they wanted to believe that it was going to stop. But he got attacked by other people in the UFO community for coming up with this, even physically assaulted, like people wanted to punch him in the face. And yet nobody has the answer to what, the abduction phenomenon is. But if you even say, hey, have we thought about this angle, like you'll get attacked right away. And that's a big problem in our in this field, is that anybody decides to look at it maybe with a different lens. If it's not extraterrestrial and if it's not interdimensional, then it's got to be wrong, which I think that's the wrong attitude towards it. At least hear the guy out, and he's not saying anything outrageous, and the books are really well written as well. So, yeah, that's. I would like to get more people from different cultures to speak up, considering this. Yeah.
And the cultural diversity of this is something that I think does need to be addressed. I mean, in the United States, we're seeing more African-American people come out and saying that they are having experiences, which is fantastic. I know up here, the First Nations area where I live, I remember talking to one of the chiefs, and I was asking him about Sasquatch in the area, and he's like, no, we don't get a lot of Sasquatch. And to quote his words, I just wish the damn star people would leave us alone. I mean, so there's a lot of First Nations who are having these abductions happen too, but with the distrust of the white man, so to speak, they aren't really going down that road. They feel this is something that they can handle internally through all the spirits and gods that they are connected to and Mother Earth. So I'm very curious with the cultural side of things, especially the Punjabi culture, which is so prominent in the Lower Mainland and such a beautiful culture in regards to that. What do you think is the reasoning that they are not coming out and speaking about this?
Well, one thing that I've noticed working with many Punjabi people in Abbotsford was that, everything is family orientated, right? Like they're very, very generous, even calling people that they don't know uncle and auntie, which I thought was really a sign of respect. So every time somebody's an elder, you call them uncle, or auntie if it's female. But their culture is also about you get married, you have a good job, and you just attend the church, and that's it. That's basically, it's the same thing. I've seen it in my own Christian past as well. Like, Christian mentality is no different. There's the church, there's family, and that's it. Anything else outside of that realm, you're mentally ill, which I think is wrong. That's the wrong approach to. I was in a church. I was the guy that was, singing the songs on Sunday mornings, leading everybody into worship. I did that stretch. I understand what it's like being part of the church and having your mindset saying, no, this is the only thing that exists. And then if you have an experience that happens, you're trying to make it fit into the narrative or the box that you've created or that has already been created for you. In this case, it's your social, political, and religious backgrounds will all have huge effects in that. And a lot of, of the older generation in Punjabi culture, they're from India. They don't speak English very well. So they're very much old customs, by old-fashioned ways, and their kids are taught the same thing. But, that openness to saying, hey, I've been abducted by aliens or some sort of entities from somewhere else, we're just not hearing that from that culture. And I think it has to do with that upbringing, that religious also unity that they have together. They're very tight. So if you say anything that's sort of weird, it might make you sound weird, that doesn't look good on the family. So it's discouraged. And I think that's one of the biggest problems.
I have a couple of East Indian friends up here, and I speak with them almost daily. I'm going to ask them about that. That just absolutely intrigues me. I'm going to ask them about that. So thank you for that little tip in regards to that. As we speak with Jason Guillemette from UAP Studies Podcast. Question from the Lazarus Project here. Do you think blood type may play a role, and is it generational?
I'm not sure if it's the blood type, just because of the variety of people that have been taken, that we know of. Generational, yes, I do believe that, if mom and dad have had, incidences in the past, usually the children have it as well, grandchildren as well. So it's almost like they're following your lineage, or they're following your ancestry down, and who knows how far back that rabbit hole goes. But yes, definitely multi-generational is definitely at play. And it's like they're monitoring whatever tweaks they're doing to us. It's like they're almost monitoring it, what's it going to be that, 4 kids down the road? And it's like they're just following up on that.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan about the whole blood type thing. I think that's a story that has been overplayed. And I don't think they really care about that. I do believe that there is some sort of generational roles played in that as well, except for some of us, like even myself as an ET contactee, I really do not see this happening to my parents. My parents they know what I do. They've never talked to me about this or any of their own experiences or what have you along those lines. So I'm not sure if it's generational, or for a lot of people it just kind of comes out of the blue and they see a UFO or they have this life-altering experience, and it's all part of how far down the rabbit hole you want to go. Because I think when you open up your consciousness to the environment of what's happened to you, I think that opens the doors and sets off that Kmart blue light special that now sends a beacon into the stars saying, hey, this person has it. This person is something or somebody we need to check out.
Yeah, because you brought up the bloodline, or if it has something to do with it, because there's one-offs as well, like the people that are driving home one night and get taken just that one time, or they happen to be with somebody who's an abductee and they happen to be taken because they were with the person who's a regular abductee. Which I think, listen, if that is you, just tell anybody that you're going camping with before you go out camping with them that this may happen. Just a general courtesy. But yeah, just the one-offs people, they don't have anything special about their bloods, and it's not like they all have that in common. So I don't think it has anything to do with the blood type. I really do think it's more like DNA and what is it about that person? And every time I look at any case to see, like, what is it about that person specifically they needed this person for? Did you see the recent was Unsolved Mysteries when they were talking about the abductions that took place over same craft, just over different cities? Did you see that one?
No, I missed that one.
And there's a young kid in there that's told, while he's drawing inside the house, you need to leave the house right now. You need to go home. And he did. He left the house. And then that's when he got taken. So again, it's like there's specific people that, are targeted for whatever reason. But the one-offs are the one that interests me the most, because usually those are the ones that, like, it's not a repeat thing. It was a one-time thing occurrence. And it was enough to shake their world. But those are the ones, too, that I'm interested in. It's like, why are the one-offs needed?
If you've ever been called out by a UFO, that's part, like when I speak at conferences, that's one of the situations that I went through that I talk about, is when you...
This is Gut for Popeyes. ISKI code YPDR06950000. Titled Nuggets Radio EL, 30 Seconds English Radio.
After Popeyes launched its chicken sandwich...
2 words. Chicken Wars. It's the Chicken Wars.
At Popeyes, we're announcing that the Chicken War is over.
We come in peace.
Because this time, we come in peace. 8-piece. Introducing our new nuggets. Juicy, crispy, and absolutely delicious. Try an 8-piece today for $3.99 and start earning points with Popeyes Rewards. U.S. only. Price and participation may vary. Popeyes Rewards available on digital orders only and subject to terms and conditions.
This is Gut for Popeyes. ISKI code YPDR06950000. Titled Nuggets Radio EL, 30 Seconds English Radio.
After Popeyes launched its chicken sandwich...
2 words. Chicken Wars. It's the Chicken Wars.
At Popeyes, we're announcing that the Chicken War is over.
We come in peace.
Because this time, we come in peace. 8-piece. Introducing our new nuggets. Juicy, crispy, and absolutely delicious. Try an 8-piece today for $3.99 and start earning points with Popeyes Rewards. U.S. only. Price and participation may vary. Popeyes Rewards available on digital orders only and subject to terms and conditions.
Been called outside, it is weird, man. It is completely weird when you were called outside, and the next thing you know, you're starting to wonder if you're reading things correctly, and this UFO on the ground all of a sudden lights up like a Christmas tree.
Now, this happened to you. Did you feel, was it like a necessity, an impulse?
Oh yeah. I had here's the story. I had, we got 5 minutes here, so I got time to tell this. I was meeting my partner at our friend's house, and they lived in the backwoods of Mission, British Columbia, and they had a lot of weird stuff on their property. It was like a mini East City ranch. It was beautiful. And going there, leaving my daytime job in Chilliwack, I got off work at about 7 to 8 o'clock at night. I got out of the office. It's like 35 minutes home. Ended up getting there at about 9 o'clock that night. And as I was driving towards Abbotsford to cut over to Mission, I started getting a migraine, where all of a sudden the headlights from the cars coming eastbound were starting to really hit my head, and my head was getting sore. And so I pulled into their driveway. I walk inside. I sit my butt down on the couch, and I close my eyes. And my partner asked me, she goes, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, yeah, I'm getting a migraine. I can't really handle this right now. I may have to go home. And she goes, "Well, do you want to go now?" And I said, "No, I just got here. You just got here. I know you just got your hot tea in front of you. Let's just hang out." And about 30 minutes later, I realized that as the pain in my eyes was subsiding, it was actually starting to come into shapes. Started off with a square in the front of my head, moved to the right side as a triangle, and moved to the left side as a circle. And when that pain subsided, I all of a sudden got hit with an anxiety attack that I needed to go into the back field of this 10-acre property and see what was out there. And it was like, I got to go now. Like, total anxiety attack that I have to do this. I got to go now. And the lady of the house came with me, and we walked back there and just kind of said, hey, you called us outside. Show us where you are. Talking the same volume as I'm talking to you, and 150 yards away from the neighbor's backfield, because there's only 2 houses on the street, and both houses are horseshoed by forest. And it lit up like a Christmas tree on the ground 150 yards away.
Did she get the same feeling as well when she followed you outside?
Oh yeah, you could cut the tension with a knife. That's how thick it was.
And was there any sound at that point?
No sound. Never made any sound. No. What I do recall, and it's funny, I had never seen this color blue before. In the middle, the second time it turned its lights on, in the middle there was this giant blue cylinder standing vertically. And I'm going to say this cylinder was 20 to 30 feet tall, because the trees in between the 2 properties were old, about 70 feet tall maple trees. Okay, gorgeous trees. Gotcha. And it was, so the cylinder went about halfway up. I'd never seen that blue. The closest blue that I've ever seen to that blue was like a police light on a police car.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, but this was different. Not much, but different. And then earlier this year, remember that UFO story that was caught in Hawaii, where that blue craft went straight into the water and disappeared? Yep. When I saw that blue, I was like, holy crap. That was the blue that was in the forest that day. And I could tell you this, Lou Elizondo has seen that blue as well.
So it's a specific color.
It's a specific blue.
And after that, once you see it in the field, did it phase out? Did it shoot up? No.
Just turned its lights off and disappeared. Oh, dude, there's a lot you don't know about Old Davey.
Well, the fact that you are, somebody from my neighborhood and that you've had these experiences in the neighborhood, that to me is exciting, because that just, I know that this area that we live in is extremely busy with activity. So it's just nice to hear it from anybody that's lived here, that they've had these experiences. And, specifically you're mentioning that area is an area of interest. That's an area where I definitely want to do more night watches, because I think there's definitely something to that area as well, the Mission area.
I tell you what, as we got about 20 seconds till we go to break, I will come down and I will take you on a tour.
Let's do it.
I will take you on a tour of where everything happened. And
bring the gear. Sounds like a plan.
Let's make it happen. Let's make it happen. Jason Guillemette is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. He has an incredible podcast called UAP Studies Podcast, which can be found on any major podcasting stream. This one I highly recommend you check out. He's one of the good guys in the field, and I don't like passing you through to the bad people, but this one you can. I promise, it's a good one. We got him for another 30 minutes before we get to John Hudson and the Unbiased UFO Report. Yeah, dude, that was a crazy day.
But I would think, anybody that has that experience, because Dan Aykroyd mentioned that a couple of times, like the event that took place for him, I think it was back in the 70s, like over Toronto, about him just having that feeling to go outside.
Yeah.
And it's happened to so many people, even people, when I heard that in that episode of Unsolved Mysteries, somebody's inside the house and says, you need to go outside right now. You need to leave the house. You need to go outside. And he did, because he's panicking. And that's when they take him. It's like, that's crazy. The fact that it's not, just the abduction experience, but the fact that what happens to somebody mentally, right?
I agree. Hey, bud, I just got to run my dogs out. I'll be right back.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
On mute, and I'll be right back. Lay down. Lay down. All right. I am back, man. And hey, Ross Lambda, good to see you. How you doing, Jay?
I'm doing good, my man.
You having fun?
I'm awake, which means I'm having fun. This is good.
Yeah.
I'm having a blast. Talking UFOs, it can't go wrong.
Absolutely. Absolutely, my friend. Absolutely. No, it's the funny part about it is I'm going to drop a name. I want you to write it down.
Sure.
You want to interview Samantha Mowat.
Samantha Mowat.
Yeah. So 5 days after this incident, I met a young lady named Samantha Mowat who lived in Mission. She now lives in Prince George. And 25 minutes after meeting her, she walked me into the forest behind the farm. And we were 200 feet away from a 10 to 12 foot extraterrestrial. Middle of the day.
Something that she can do, or... See, I always wanted to meet somebody who claims that they're able to do that. I'm like, okay, let's do it.
Samantha is the real deal.
Is she? Well, definitely, I mean, if you still have contact with her, let her know. I'd be interested.
Mowat is M-O-W-A-T.
Yeah.
Put a .ca behind that. You got her website, and you can email her there.
Oh, perfect. Okay, awesome.
Yeah, she's amazing. She is one of my best friends, and she is the real deal.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what did you do when you saw that?
Crap my pants.
Did you?
Figuratively, not literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine was blown.
Yeah. James Davies, welcome. All right, we got about just 30 seconds here. Big thank you to Ozzy, Steve, Jazz, and Michael for the amazing super chats tonight. And it really helps us out in what we do on a nightly basis. Thank you to all our new subscribers who've clicked that button, rang that bell. We are here 7 days a week for you, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern time. Thank you to all our regulars who are here. You guys make it so special. Here we go, everyone.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Thank you to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Palmiped. Palmiped is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight. For the final time, we introduce Jason Guillemette. He has a great UFO podcast called UAP Studies Podcast. You can find it on any major podcast platform. Highly recommend this one. Jason, thank you so much for joining us. It's really been a pleasure.
Hey, I'm having a blast. Yeah, this is fun.
Oh, I'm enjoying it too, my friend. Enjoying it too. We've talked about everything from governments and disclosure to abduction phenomena and everything in between. Going forward here, it's been a very, very slow July going into August, where we have a lot of rumors and stories, but there's nothing really hardcore that we saw in the first 6 months of this year. Are we just taking a break here? Is this the calm before the storm? What do you think's going on?
I would say it was probably the calm before the storm. I mean, there's been a bit of squabbling amongst ufologists as of late. Some internet, some people saying some stuff is hoaxes or accusing others, I shall not name names, of being frauds. But I think that's sort of what's taken precedence right now in the UFO news. There's nothing really coming out of the Pentagon or Senate or anything like that. So yeah, it's kind of weird. I'm expecting, you had mentioned earlier in a poll, like what would you like, to see in the future? It would definitely be a picture would be nice, or video footage that is not from infrared cameras, something that is, really good HD quality pictures. I think that would be the next step to release that to the public. I think would be good. And who knows, maybe right now they're just easing us in to everything, little steps here. We'll start with the Senate first, wait a few months. Okay. Release the pictures. Who knows what their strategy on this is, if there's a strategy at all. But yeah, it's been dead. It's been quite quiet for the last month, which to me is not too bad because, like I said, it's we've had to build up to this, Senate hearing, whatever. We got 7 pages, I think, that was released, which some people complained about, some people were happy about. I'm neutral about it. I don't think it was, anything exceptional. But yeah, I think the next thing would be a picture. I would like a picture or video, something tangible that they can add with the report at this point.
I don't know if we're going to get that. I want to see it. I mean, the big hubbub is whether or not that black triangle video, which is suspected to be the 23-minute video, if anything from that will actually come on out, right? And I don't think it will. We've heard so many people, from Lou Elizondo to Bob McGuire and other people in the spook agency and the spook world, say if this ever came out, there would be no convincing, or there'd be no argument against the subject or the phenomena at all. I mean, those are steep words for somebody like Elizondo to use when the chances of that video ever coming out are slim to none.
They're slim to none, but let's say that he did see that video himself, right? And that shook his worldview. His reality got changed. Because really, when you see something of that's incredible and that's irrefutable, it happened either to you or you got the video footage of it. It's hard to go back. I can see why he would fight like a bulldog, especially if he saw or was privy to some sort of video footage or insight sensitive materials or something like that. I could see that would create that fight for him to say, no, the public needs to see this. This is the stuff that got leaked out, or the stuff that the Pentagon approved as official UAP footage isn't necessarily jaw-dropping footage. It's black and white, it's radar. It's not that great. They have clearer pictures than that, clearer video footage than that. So if he's been witness to that, yeah, I could see why he has a bone to chew and why he still wants to tell people, no, there's more. There's more. Wait till you see what I've seen.
A lot of that argument goes to the point of whether or not people are ready for this subject. Now, people such as you, me, our audience listening to this are pretty much ready. Like, they're like, yeah, let's bring it on, man. Let's do this thing. Let's get this going. But are we really ready as a society? Because in the end, this is going to change everything. Everything we know is going to shift. Just like when I saw that alien in the forest with Samantha Mowat back in 2015, or 2014, pardon me, that absolutely shifted my entire paradigm on everything that I believe.
It affects you, right? Like, you can't go back. You're not going to go to sleep the same person that night after seeing something that, I've talked about that sighting that I had when I was a kid, but the impact of it, it was substantial enough that at the age of 40, here I am talking about it, or wanting to investigate it, want to know further, like, what are these things? Where are they from? What are they capable of? I think but we're living in an age now where most of us have had an experience. And if we haven't had an experience, we know somebody who has. And profound enough that it gauges us to now want to have that conversation. One thing that you hear a lot from the abductees is like, oh, they want our consciousness to be elevated. They want our consciousness to be elevated. They could operate crafts with their consciousness. Well, what's this whole consciousness? What are they talking about? It's selflessness. It's basically, that whatever our species is, it's always I. And with these things, it's like, no, everything is, it's like a community, it's communion. It's you come up with a great idea. They all have the great idea. That is a great way as a species to evolve faster, to build technology that is way, like you could, as a species, if that's how you work, you would be able to develop so fast, like unstoppable, because any idea that you have, like imagine Neil Tyson deGrasse has an idea in his head and all of a sudden you have it, right? We all share it. That would be telepathy. That would be great. And it seems like that's what they're able to do. And is it that telepathy is something that comes from higher consciousness? Once you reach a certain level of consciousness, you're able to read minds or connect with others. Who knows? But that is a message that we keep hearing over and over again. Higher consciousness, higher consciousness. I don't know if your American audience knows this, but as of late, Canada has been finding a bunch of residential schools that have little bodies, dead children from their past. Canada is not, blameless when it comes down to atrocities of the past. That's basically what we're dealing with now. And the mentality of the people that lived back then, that had these schools and stuff like that, is way different than the mentality that we have now in 2021. There's more accountability. There's more, if you do.
This is Gut for Popeyes. ISKI code YPDR06950000. Titled Nuggets Radio EL, 30 Seconds English Radio.
After Popeyes launched its chicken sandwich...
2 words. Chicken Wars. It's the Chicken Wars.
At Popeyes, we're announcing that the chicken war is over.
We come in peace.
Because this time, we come in peace. 8-piece. Introducing our new nuggets. Juicy, crispy, and absolutely delicious. Try an 8-piece today for $3.99 and start earning points with Popeyes Rewards. U.S. only. Price and participation may vary. Popeyes Rewards available on digital orders only and subject to terms and conditions.
It's my daughter's having a sleepover with 5 of her friends, but I know just the place to go to get something for everybody. And just a little something for myself too meal. There's a meal for every moment on the McDonald's $1, $2, $3 menu.
Like a 4 for $4 deal. Get a McDouble and add 4-piece chicken McNuggets, small fries, and a medium soft drink for $4. Prices and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with combo meal.
Something like, I remember the way people used to talk to me when I was a kid back in the 80s. Now, if you were to talk to a kid like that, people would have their cell phones on. Like, are you crazy? Look at this nut job yelling at the kids. But when we were kids, that was normal. And so we are changing. We are seeing that. One thing I mentioned to my wife, with the biggest problems with humanity is that whenever the chart goes up and we see our progress, we want to grab the eraser and go back and erase the tracks that we're going up, because we're ashamed of that. We're ashamed of where we come from. We're ashamed of the way that we acted in the past. And I think this is no different. The subject is the same way. We've done the same thing. We've taken the eraser a lot of times to try to erase things, the subject of UFOs, but it's a subject that's not going away.
No, and I don't think it's going away either, the subject of UFOs. I think it's here to stay. The minute it broke into headline news, and rather than just, a Saturday night filler with the Twilight Zone music or X-Files music played in front of it, and then I think that ended that type of stigma for most media outlets, now that the government, especially in the United States, has announced that they are investigating this phenomena. But what do we need to see to take this to the next realm? What do we need to see going into the future here? Because people are not satisfied. We always want more. Do we need that 23-minute video? Do we need more people such as Lou Elizondo's replacement at ATIP to come forward? Where do we go from here?
That's a good question. Because I don't think we've ever been here before. Even the report was mentioning, this is a phenomenon worth investigating. Maybe more money is needed to, definitely let's continue pursuing this, which is a first. Like most reports have come out in the past of saying, it's a dead end. There's no point investigating this. It poses no threat right now to national security. But we didn't get that this time. We have guys like Lou and Christopher Mellon that are pushing so hard continuously every year now for like saying, no, there's more. But they're fighting the system as much as anybody else to trying to get this information out or trying to get their hands on this material. I think, for people, would it be easier for them? And this is a question I ask you. Do you think it'd be easier for you if they were to break out, okay, we know that, let's say they are interdimensional beings and we have pictures. Would it make people more comfortable seeing a picture of one that is deceased or one that is alive? That's really the one that I'm more interested in. How are people going to react? If it's dead, it poses no threat to us. But if it's live footage, like, let's say Skinny Bob turns out to be true and they have actual footage of an entity, would people want to see that? Or would that be too much? Would that make it too real for them?
Right.
Because as long as something is from a distance, you're okay coping with it. But once you see it, once you see that it's tangible, like, holy crap, these things are real, that will change the thinking in humanity, I think.
See, for me, and I don't know how you feel about this, but we'll find out. With what we're seeing today through ufology, through these videos, through the government, what they have said so far, with the DNI report only going back to 2004, to me, that opens up the door to all of these different conspiracy theories that we've been hearing for decades, whether it's Roswell, whether it's Eisenhower meeting with aliens and trading humans for technology, whether it's Bob Lazar, whether it's David Adair launching a rocket into Area 51. There are all these little conspiracies that people have argued over the years in ufology. And to me, now that we're not seeing anything prior to 2004 or admittance to anything prior to 2004, it now opens up another conspiracy door thinking, okay, if they're not willing to go past 2004, what are they hiding? Why are they hiding it? And why will they not talk about the Phoenix Lights in 1997 or the Marfa Lights or the Flatwoods Monster or Kecksburg or any of these other events that have happened? Why are they all of a sudden shuffling them to the point, like you said, erasing that UFO history and not bringing it out?
Yeah, let's just start as if the Nimitz encounter was the end all be all, the one that began the whole thing, where we know it's not. Even Lazar, like when you see, I'm a big Lazar supporter. I believe in I believe Bob Lazar. Hashtag believe Bob Lazar. I think that what he says is true. When he mentioned, like, one of the crafts that they were working on came from an archaeological dig. Other ones came from crashes. And after reading this recent book, Trinity, that they recovered a craft that was in fairly good condition in 1945. This is 2 years before Kenneth Arnold's sighting and, 2 years before the Roswell crash. So that the government has been their hands in these technologies, or at least acquiring this technology, trying to figure out how to reverse engineer them. Is that a reason why they don't mention anything prior to 2004? Is that they've already acquired some of this information beforehand? They just don't want to talk about it. They just don't want it to be something to be covered or uncovered. Let's start at 2004 from the Nimitz incidents on forward. Again, it could just be because the manpower that would be needed to go back and investigate old cases might be a moot point. I don't know. But yeah, I don't fully agree with that decision. I thought that was kind of weird to stick in their wheels like that and say, no, this is going to be the cutoff point. This is going to be where we start from, as opposed to all this other information that we've had for the last 76 years.
Well, there's 60,000 residents of Phoenix who would like to know what happened in 1997. That's not one or two people in a forest watching Travis Walton get taken. Or six people in the forest watching Travis Walton get taken. I mean, there are so many different cover-ups that are going on, and to my thinking of it all, they have the perfect plan here. The media in the mainstream has never ever wanted to cover this subject. They have treated it like garbage since the beginning. All right, and I know that from working in a newsroom, taking those phone calls. All right? And so you have that part. Then you have the media now having to play catch-up because they know nothing of the subject, and they're having to play catch-up, and, the TTSA comes in, and whether you love them or hated them, that's irrelevant at this point because they're a non-entity now. All right? They did some good, and they did some bad. All right? They brought the topic to the forefront, but they also shadowed the topic and created a narrative that if it wasn't from them, it wasn't any good.
It's unfortunately, because you've been around long enough to know that sort of happens. There's always somebody comes out, it seems good at first, and over time becomes tainted. That's just human nature. I mean, we always start off with good intentions, and it always turns out to be like TTSA. I was quite disappointed. I thought they were off to a good start, and then it sort of just stalled, and then it dwindled, and that star just faded out of the sky. But what I like is that you still had Christopher Mellon, you still have Lou that are still going around saying, no, we're going to continue the cause. The cause, TTSA might have lost the objective here, but the objective is still very clear. And the fact they're still sticking to their guns today goes to show you that their hearts are in a good place.
Well, I can tell you, my opinion of Lou Elizondo has done a 180. I was very leery about him at first. But after having a couple of private conversations with him and bringing him on air a couple of times here on SOR, I think that, I just wish that he had the freedom to say what he was, okay, and what he can say. I think there's a lot he wants to say, but the feeling I get with no inside information whatsoever is that I think there's a lot he can say that he just chooses right now not to say because he doesn't want to be that guy.
Right.
Right? He does. Yeah. And I have a feeling, in my opinion, that Lou is a major experiencer and does not want to go down that road because he doesn't want to hurt his own credibility in front of the media, taking this subject from the government and science to the woo category. Right.
But, the woo category will come with it because you can't have the scientific community dismissing that woo factor out of, when we're talking about the 5E contact, when we're talking about the abduction phenomenon, cattle mutilation, all the weird things, the scientific community, when they say they're going to investigate that, they're going to have to investigate those as well. It can't be selective, no, we're only going to do the videos that are shot from F Hornets or F-18 Hornets. No, it needs, all of it needs to be studied. And that's why ufology is such a mess, because there's so much ground to cover that one person can't possibly have the answer to this. It has to be a group. But yeah, for what you're saying about Lou, that's probably true. He probably did experience something. He probably has, something that he's holding back that he can't say, but I've been, in his camp the whole time.
Could you imagine what it would be like if Lou Elizondo all of a sudden came out and said that he's an experiencer, that he has been face-to-face with aliens? I mean, that would be... we got him to admit on this show, I don't know if you heard a couple months ago, but we got him to admit that he's seen aliens.
I didn't hear that part.
Oh, yeah. That you might want to go back and check that out. It's the first time
that's a holy shit. Yeah.
Yeah. So... I mean, there we, with that, I mean, he doesn't say it like, hey, I've got aliens. He doesn't come up and say that, but he has seen some strange stuff. We only got 3 minutes left. I want to get this question in from Life Dweller.
Sure.
Do you know anything about Barry Littleton's claim that UFOs are grown over black holes and are part mushroom? I don't know if this is a serious question or not. I don't even know who Barry Littleton is.
I don't know. I think if you eat mushrooms, you might see black triangles or black UFOs. Yeah.
Very, very true.
Definitely will open you up to the experience. Yeah.
Absolutely. 2.5 minutes to go with you tonight. And I got to say, I can't believe, Jason, how quickly this show has flown on by with you. It has been a lot of fun. And I can honestly say, I think you're one of the good guys in this field. And,
thank you.
And you have that great Canadian humbleness to you that everyone should enjoy your podcast, UAP Studies podcast. Let everybody know where they can find it.
Yeah, so it's available everywhere except Apple or iTunes, I should say, because they're making it difficult for me to get on there. But it's available everywhere that your podcast providers, such as Amazon, you name it. God, it's hard to name them all. They're all out there. iHeartRadio, basically wherever you get your podcast, you're able to get UAP studies on it as well. Worst case scenario, just Google it and it'll pop up, hopefully.
And how often are you doing shows?
Whenever I have a guest. So it's not every week. It's whenever, like sometimes I'll have a dump of guests like within a week, or sometimes I can have a guest, one a month or two a month. So it's whenever I have somebody noteworthy to come on. That's when the episode drops.
Man, it has been an absolute pleasure tonight as we got about 90 seconds here talking UFOs. What's your final word to the audience out there? If they're looking for that experience, if they have that experience, what's your advice?
Well, the wanting an experience is basically, watching the skies and not being at home. That's the main thing. You're not going to see a UFO if you're just sitting at home watching TV every night. Basically, the people that claim to see UFOs are people that are like fishermen, people that are outdoors. You always hear UFO experiences are outdoors. That's where it takes place. The most important part would be just for people to communicate and talk about this subject. It's the most important part, I think, is having people on buses talk about it, people on the airplane next to you talk about it, talk about, have you listened to, Spaced Out Radio? Do you listen to, UFO subjects? Like, what's your thoughts on it? Just having that discussion amongst, us all, like the same way you would talk about the weather, I think is the most important part. Really what I think I'm more focused on now as a podcaster is getting that discussion going. And like I said, I might be a really bad investigator. You might go back through my cases and go, this guy wasn't good at investigating. That's fine. But as long as I got the subject moving and people talking about it, that is the most important part for me when it comes down to this.
Well, we appreciate you, Jason, for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. It's been a real pleasure to finally get to meet you and have a good UFO chat with you. So thank you so much. It's a UAP Studies podcast. Make sure you follow them on Twitter as well. Coming up next, we have John Hudson with the Unbiased UFO Report. We're going to have some fun with John, then we'll get to the news and the thought of the day next. Great job, my friend.
Hey, this was fun. This was really fun.
Yeah, man. That was a lot of fun. I appreciate you taking the time to do that.
Of course, anytime. And I'll have you on the podcast as well.
Yeah,
we got to talk about your experiences.
Let me know. My best days for recording are Thursdays.
Thursdays are good.
Yeah, do you usually do daytime or night?
I could do nighttime or daytime. Depends on what my guest needs.
Thursday day works well for me.
How are Sundays? Are they good at all?
Sundays are perfect.
They're perfect because I do a lot of recording on the Sundays usually.
Yeah, I could do a Sunday, not a problem.
Nice.
How long do you go for?
I do about an hour, and if the conversation is good, we just keep it going until it basically comes to an end. But about an hour at least.
Yeah, man, let's do it. You want to go an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours? I really don't care. Let's do it.
We got to do that road trip. That you got to show me all those locations. Yeah.
I could totally do that. I can't get onto the property where it happened because it's no longer my former friends.
Right.
But I could show you it.
And I'll contact this Samantha Mowat and see if she's available to talk, or at least get to know her or get to talk with her.
I'll tell you right now, she'll blow your fucking mind.
Right.
And don't get weirded out, but usually when she is doing interviews, she's actually channeling the answers.
Huh.
Yeah.
And how have you found that?
Amazing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Good answers out of it.
I introduced her to Dr. Bob McGuire, and he's another one you need to have on.
Bob McGuire.
Yeah. And he's ex-CIA, ex-NRO, and when he had a chat with her, he was literally like, Dave, I'm coming up to BC as soon as the border opens, and we're going camping. Samantha's coming with us because I think she can let me see some aliens.
So at least he's brave enough to test it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's amazing. She is amazing.
No, I definitely want to do that little road trip there with you and go see all those spots, because I've been looking for the spots, the hot spots, especially in the Mission area. So if you know where they are, definitely.
Yes. Okay. Do you know where Davis Lake is in Mission off of Sylvester?
Yes.
Follow Sylvester. I'm going to say 10 kilometers down the 10, 20 kilometers on the gravel road, and an opening will happen. Apparently, there is a group there. Now, this is going back a number of years ago. There is a group there that goes out there on weekends, sans fire, sans lights, and they sit and wait, and they have watched craft land in there.
Huh.
I don't know where the spot is. I just know that it is well beyond Sylvester Road.
Because I was on Sylvester Road that one time that I was in the field looking for orbs in that region, but I don't think I was that far down because I was still on pavement.
Yeah, no, you got to go. I'll take you there.
Okay.
When you and I go, I promise you it'll be an all-day thing. It's not going to be like a quick, this is where this happened and this where. No, I'll take you for a major ride.
Perfect. That sounds like something I'd be down for sure. Man.
I got to run here because I got to get John in here, get ready for the news.
No worries.
But we'll talk soon, okay?
Sounds like a plan, my man.
All right,
Keep
brother.
in touch.
You take care. Good night. John Hudson.
What's up, buddy?
How you doing?
Man, that guy was cool.
Yeah.
Man, I loved his attitude. Great perspective. Nice, clean way of looking at things.
Very
good attitude.
It was new.
Yeah.
It was really new.
Yeah.
And it was nice. Big shout out to Grantavius. Michael Allen, welcome to our channel. Doesn't like science, Bob. Let's see. Who else came in? Justin S. and the gorgeous Judy Wheeler is here. Ed Parnell, good to see you coming in. And who else do we got here that came in late here? Rich Hilke. Rich Hilke's been here a while, but I just like saying his name. And Chris Mo from Austria. Good morning to you, buddy. And I think we're caught up. Man, that was a good show. We got 30 seconds. Big thank you to Ozzy, Steve, Jazz, and Michael for the amazing super chats. Great way to support the show, and we really do appreciate that. And Mal C, good to have you here. And we got the UFO report with John coming up here in like 5 seconds. Hold on, guys. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We really do appreciate being your ears of the night and your voice of the night. We thank you so much. We want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Let's get to it, the unbiased UFO report. Yes, it's that time of the night again where we bring in John Hudson. We call him Stetson John around here because he always wears a black Stetson, and it looks damn good on him. It really, really does. And John is always up to date on what is happening around the UFO world, keeping all of you in the know of what's happening. He's like our personal TMZ reporter when it comes to UFOs. John, always a pleasure to have you.
Happy to be here, Dave. I'm not sure how I feel about that comparison, but I'll take whatever I can get at this point.
This is Gut for Popeyes. ISKI code YPDR06950000. Titled Nuggets Radio EL, 30 Seconds English Radio.
After Popeyes launched its chicken sandwich...
2 words. Chicken Wars. It's the Chicken Wars.
At Popeyes, we're announcing that the Chicken War is over.
We come in peace.
Because this time, we come in peace. 8-piece. Introducing our new nuggets. Juicy, crispy, and absolutely delicious. Try an 8-piece today for $3.99 and start earning points with Popeyes Rewards. U.S. only. Price and participation may vary. Popeyes Rewards available on digital orders only and subject to terms and conditions.
It's the my daughter's having a sleepover with 5 of her friends, but I know just the place to go to get something for everybody and just a little something for myself too meal. There's a meal for every moment on the McDonald's $1, $2, $3 menu.
Like the 4 for $4 deal. Get a McDouble and add 4-piece chicken McNuggets, small fries, and a medium soft drink for $4. Prices and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with combo meal.
First thing that came to my mind. I'm not going to lie. It was the first thing that came to my mind.
That was awesome. That was awesome. No, doing well, Dave. Happy to be here. Man, what a show. Love that guest. He was awesome.
Yeah, Jason Guillemette, good guy. Good guy.
Yeah, no, it's it's funny, because I was on this panel with you on Friday, and everyone was talking about July being a slow month, and it kind of cracked me up because, I mean, we've had more stories than we've been able to even cover, so things are chugging along.
But it really hasn't been, like the month of July, now that we're out of it, really wasn't a hard-hitting news month it wasn't like July where it was like every day there was something new being reported on. It was a lot of conjecture going on, drama, if we could use the word drama. I mean, probably the most exciting part was Avi Loeb, the Harvard professor setting up the Galileo project, which I think is going to be absolutely incredible if they could get the proper funding for it. But let's move on here in regards to what you bring for us tonight, John, because you want to start off with a correction that you made a boo-boo with last week.
Yeah, just a quick correction. And it partly was my own fault for doing kind of guesswork. But basically, when we were talking about, and I don't remember identifying him as lieutenant or commander, but he's actually a ranked commander now. When we were talking about Commander Chad Underwood, and you asked me about his time in the service, and he specifically said that I didn't take good enough notes on, that he actually had been in 21 years, almost to the day of his interview with Jeremy Corbell, and that of that 21 years, about the last 10 he'd done in the reserves. But so basically, that's about 11 years active and about 10 years reserve. And but he reserve as a civilian employee, so he's pretty close to still active from that point of view. But 21 years in the service, so definitely hats off to him and much respect.
Now let's talk about this bomb that he dropped that really caused David Beatty, who's been a guest on this show, made him kind of retract a little bit.
Yeah, so honestly, I love the way this worked out. I think it was a really healthy response all the way around. I'm a little bummed it happened to Dave because he's a really nice guy. He's a little on the outside of the community. He did a beautiful video, and it was kind of unfortunate that it fell in his lap. But essentially, what happened was that Commander Underwood clarified that the section of this 14-page report that had been done by the Navy back in, I believe it was done, or at least it was started in 2009. I don't know when it was completed, and I don't really know who actually got a hold of it and exactly how Dave did, because that's not a public report. But anyway, Dave basically relied very heavily on that report for putting together that video. He did also talk to people, but he really kind of used that report as his kind of guiding post. And what he found out from Underwood was that the section of the report that was attributed to Underwood, Underwood did not say. He was actually never even interviewed for that report. He had no input to it at all. And so this brings in some kind of unfortunate, startling questions, like, well, then who did write it? Who wrote that section? Why was it attributed to Underwood when it wasn't him? Should it have just been misattributed to someone else, or was it completely fabricated? And so this, and this happens. I mean, we didn't. This report was never officially released, so it's hard to really know how solid it was to begin with. But puts Dave in a horrible position where now he not only has to retract the aspects of his video that relied on that specific portion of the text, but if the writer of that report was willing to fabricate that section, it now throws everything else in the report into question as well. And so for Dave, it means some egg on his face and a lot of legwork if he wants to then go back and readdress the video correctly. But the thing I will say is that right when it came out, Dave was right out there on Twitter, made a really nice message saying that he was very sorry about a 13-page summary, that there was fabrication and errors, and many of the statements in the film are attributed to that doc and those interviews. And so he was very quick to apologize. The thing I loved was how much support he got from UFO Twitter. People responding with, "Hey man, don't worry about it. It happens to all of us. No harm, no foul. Thanks for being upfront about it." I mean, Dave was much harder on himself than anyone else was. And so between Dave calling it up real quick and everyone's very supportive response, I thought it was handled really well. But it is a very unfortunate, set of circumstances for Dave, because he did a beautiful video and now he has to put his sources into question.
Yeah, and that's always the chance you take when you're relying heavily on sources. It doesn't matter whether it's this show, whether you are creating videos or talking to people. You want to make sure that you are getting the proper information out there. And, the way this society works today in the news cycle, where everybody's trying to be first, everybody is trying to get that information out, sometimes accuracy fails on that. And it's happening in all sorts of mainstream media, and that's basically started happening a number of years ago when Twitter became the forefront of getting news out quickly and breaking news out quickly. And could it be something that it fell in the lines of that because of the pressure there was to try and bring something out?
Well, that's what was interesting was that I don't know how many people were paying this much attention. There were actually a lot of differences between Dave's first video and the most recent one he released later on. He went through several iterations of that video where he was making corrections, where people were calling him up and saying, "Oh, I was actually this guy, and it actually went like this." And so he actually went through several, versions of it, and it got tighter and tighter and more accurate, we thought, as time went on. So Dave was putting in a lot of legwork to make sure. I think that's why he's so upset, because he really did put a lot of work in to make that video accurate. And this really blindsided him, blindsided everybody.
No kidding. Let's move on to another one here. George Knapp from KLAS TV in Las Vegas, and really Mr. UFO when it comes to reporting this in the mainstream. He has his own news wire called the Mystery Wire, and they were able to coax another Bob Lazar witness to come out in public and talk about Lazar being the real deal. So who is TJ Genazzo?
Thank you. I was kind of playing with the pronunciation myself. First of all, I encourage everyone to go on to YouTube or Mr. Wire and watch the videos yourself. There's 4 of them. They're very, very entertaining and very interesting. He is a retired police officer who was not only working in the court system when Bob Lazar was in trouble for the pandering charges, but it turns out he was a real confidant of George Knapp at the time, and actually provided George with a tremendous amount of assistance during that entire fiasco, including kind of helping advise Bob Lazar on how much trouble he was really in, and why it was so important to play by the rules and admit to what he'd done. And so this guy's he's someone who had an interest in UFOs to begin with, but he was really a confidant of George's, and so you get to hear some interesting inside stories. and specifically, I don't know if you guys all remember, but there was a specifically disturbing story that George Knapp told about a woman who was going forward as a witness who then told that that it's really easy for people to get lost in the desert, and was really threatened and was scared and wouldn't talk to George anymore. Well, it turned out this was this guy's friend. This was a woman that worked with TJ in his office. And he talks about how it wasn't just that she shut down George after that. She shut down everything after that. She basically wouldn't talk about any of these topics at all, and really kind of avoided TJ after that. And he said her whole personality changed after that event. They really scared her.
Yeah, and, according to this, what makes this guy believe that Lazar is the real deal?
Well, it's not so much that that he has any direct evidence to say yes, Bob was telling the truth. It's more that he is able to fill in a lot of the gaps in the story, and he is certainly his own personal character evaluation of Bob, because Bob is someone he interacted with quite a bit, and so he does talk about that, and he is able to confirm a couple of things. And the one thing that was especially interesting was that there was two men that showed up to pressure the judge in the case to give a stricter sentence to Bob Lazar. The judge refused to do so. But what's interesting was, and what was not released until this interview came out, was that many, many years later, TJ was actually at Nellis Air Force Base in the office of the JAG, where he always had to check in with whenever he was on base. And while sitting in that office, one of those two gentlemen that pressured the judge actually came out of an office and walked by him, and they made eye contact. So whoever one of these two guys was, he's someone who actually works in and around the JAG office at Nellis Air Force Base. So that's a very, very interesting tie-in to all of it.
No kidding. And for people who don't know, I mean, there is very minimal distance between downtown Las Vegas Boulevard, and the beginnings of Nellis Air Force Base, which starts to open up into the range where, you go a couple hours north, and that's where you get into the deep stuff with Area 51.
Yep, absolutely. No, if you go to any of the racing schools, I went to an open-wheeled racing school in Vegas, and the strip of land they're on is right across the road from the beginning of Nellis Air Force Base. And so it's barbed wire, and you can see planes right over the other side of the road. It's right there on the edge of the city.
Yeah, that's just amazing. Well, you know what? We'll soon see. I mean, sure, this doesn't give us more clarity about Bob Lazar, but it gives us some added perspective. I think we're all still waiting for someone to come out from Area 51 and say, I worked with Bob Lazar at Area 51 or at S4. I doubt that person will ever come forward, but it does give you hope that this story after 32 years still is not dead in the water, and that there is more material to present. Okay, finally tonight with you, we are going to get into Katie and the alien from Roswell. Now, this goes back to our guest, Katie Grabowski, that we had on last week.
This I don't know if you were prepared for this when you were going to interview her, but this was just the coolest thing to come out of any interview that I haven't expected in a long time. And basically, Katie, who's a very good investigator on her own, basically had been curious about some rumors that had been going around for a long time that one of the bodies from Roswell had ended up in Denver. And it so happened that in her investigation that a couple from California reached out to her because that gentleman's father was a mortician in Denver. And so she ended up getting to interview that mortician, I believe 2 or 3 times, she said, before he did pass away. And basically, and you should listen to the interview that Dave did with her, but basically, to make a long story short, this mortician found a safe in the basement, found out it had been had a stay on it by a federal judge, opened it anyway, thought that he found a small child. Only many years later, while paragliding, I believe it was, or hang gliding in New Mexico, did he then pick in that it might have been something other than human? And in Katie's effort of investigating all this, she was giving a talk about it at a home, for older individuals, and mentioned the fact that the federal judge had passed away, and someone in the audience said, "Oh, well, his widow's up on the 5th floor. Would you like us to go get her?" And so she actually ended up meeting with the widow. So she's met with the widow of the federal judge who put the stay on the safe, and she was able to interview the mortician that sneaked a peek at it. And on top of all of it, she hinted that she might actually know where the thing is currently resting. So it was one hell of a story, and something that I think we're all going to be very, very excited to follow as Katie proceeds down this investigative path.
Do you think that, now we're going on hearsay, though. That's the problem. As these stories get long in the tooth, the people start dying off, and we're having to go by second-rate reports here. Is that still going to be valid in a story like Roswell?
It depends. If they don't ever find any physical evidence, then it's just a really good story. And it is. It's a good story. I mean, everyone should really go back and listen to it when Katie tells it. It's a fun story, and it's an interesting story, and it's the kind of story that I like because you have separate pieces of seemingly mundane information that then when you put them together, you suddenly realize it's something very significant. And those are the kind of stories I like to follow. But I agree with you. Up until this point, it is essentially hearsay. However, if Katie is able to find an actual body, or even a location where it's very obvious that a body had been kept for some period of time, that brings a whole new level of seriousness to the story.
Wow. That's going to be amazing. My friend, thank you for a great night of reports. We'll talk to you in 2 nights' time.
My pleasure. Thank you much. You have a good evening.
All right, let's get to the news. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR News Wire at the back end of every show. We get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes the survivalist. Hundreds of sharks in West Florida have headed inland to escape the deadly red tide that has killed more than 600 tons of marine life in the region. Different shark species, including bonnethead, black tip, nurse, and lemon sharks, have been spotted darting through Longboat Key and into channels of Buttonwood Harbor, far from their usual habitat. You saw fins at first, just popping out, said resident John Wagman, just something I'd never seen in the canal before. Reports of marine predators in the bay started surfacing last week. You could literally walk across the channel on the backs of the sharks in the water, resident Janelle Branauer stated. We don't have healthy water in the bay right now. The sharks are invading the area because of their unusual red tides that are happening in their habitats of Tampa Bay, Sarasota Bay, and along the coast from Pasco to Sarasota counties. They have been infested with red tide, which is caused by unusually high blooms of algae Carinia brevis. Yeah, so hopefully them sharks... This is why you don't swim in Florida, people. It's a perfect reason why. All right, let's get to the next one. A New York woman is lucky to be alive after she spent 10 minutes fending off a coyote by herself while vacationing in Cape Cod. Marcy Sturlis escaped the incident on Race Point Beach uninjured, all thanks to 2 kind strangers, but said she's still traumatized over the ordeal. My voice is still really hoarse from screaming so much this morning. I was so scared. Sturlis, who works as an assistant principal in New York City, says she went out onto the beach to kind of hang out, have a good morning. It was just before noon. She noticed that a coyote appeared on the sand, and she put down her sneakers back on as she was getting up, and the coyote was only like 4 or 5 feet from her. Luckily, she knew that coyotes often frequent the Cape because she sees their footprints everywhere. She started carrying a stick with her last year. Came in handy as she got up, started screaming, and pushed the coyote with the stick. I was in a battle with this coyote for 10 minutes. The coyote wasn't giving up. It was a little too curious because it wasn't responding to my streams of get away and shaking the stick at it. So finally, more people came up, and she was able to get it out of there. Good for her. Coyotes are a nuisance sometimes. By the way, if you have a Patrick Mahomes rookie card, one just sold for $4.3 million. Yeah, the quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. All right, thought of the day is as follows. What do you think of the next big story in ufology will be? Danny, the fake stories come to light. Jason, actual footage from the jet cameras, not just the black and white infrared. Drew, maybe congressional hearings. Andrew, Corey Good has really been working for Vladimir Putin. Joshua, probably will have something to do with the military and their continuous interactions with UFOs. Scott, a leak regarding Bigelow Aerospace about the contents of the reputed artifact warehouse. Nicholas, USOs. Bobby, Lee Harvey Oswald was an alien. Will the alien invasion next summer? Most likely in April. We'll leave it right there. Thank you to everybody participating in the Thought of the Day. Thank you to Captain Shirk for the news, and of course to John Hudson for the unbiased UFO report, and our guest tonight, Jason Guillemette, coming in from UAP Studies Podcast. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thaw rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone listening in our chat rooms. YouTube, LGAB, Twitch, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us. Because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night.
This is Gut for Popeyes. ISKI code YPDR06950000. Titled Nuggets Radio EL. 30 seconds English radio.
After Popeyes launched its chicken sandwich...
2 words. Chicken Wars. It's the Chicken Wars.
At Popeyes, we're announcing that the Chicken War is over.
We come in peace.
Because this time, we come in peace. 8-piece. Introducing our new nuggets. Juicy, crispy, and absolutely delicious. Try an 8-piece today for $3.99 and start earning points with Popeyes Rewards. U.S. only. Price and participation may vary. Popeyes Rewards available on digital orders only and subject to terms and conditions.
Me, but also you. The Pharaoh fast forwards his favorite foreign film, Powder Donut. Okay, what's my line?
The only line I see here on the script is get options based on your budget with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive.
Oh man, that's a tongue twister, huh? I'm sorry, I'm gonna need a few more minutes. Bulbous Walrus, the Bulbous Walrus.
The Name Your Price tool, only from Progressive.
The owl ran afoul of the comatose coxswain.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.